Chapter 2285. The steward smiled, glanced at the people below, and asked, "Is there anyone else who wants to bid?" No one answered. Actually, it wasn't that no one wanted to offend these rich kids. After all, the forces behind these rich kids were very powerful. Manager, forget it. Why don't you think about it? Who would be so insensible? Besides, you guys have already earned a lot of divine crystals. You should be satisfied. Young Master Yun's arrogant voice sounded. The manager smiled and was about to announce the result. But at this time, Zhang Xiaoyang, who was sitting opposite Qin Feiyang, gritted his teeth and stood up. 61 billion. Everyone present immediately turned to look at him. Everyone's face was filled with disbelief. There was actually someone who dared to compete with young Master Yun? Qin Feiyang also looked at Zhang Xiaoyang in shock. How much courage did one need to compete with the people of the four great families? The whole place was dead silent. The manager lowered his head and looked at Zhang Xiaoyang with a look of disbelief. Wait. Isn't he Zhang Xiaoyang of the Zhang family? He doesn't seem to be a direct descendant of the Zhang family. What do you mean by seems? He isn't, he's just a small character from the side family. Then why does he dare to go against young Master Yun? You have to know that even Zhang Xiaofan, a direct descendant, doesn't dare to say anything in front of young Master Yun. The dead silence was quickly broken. Everyone whispered to each other and discussed animatedly. On the top floor, young Master Yun's voice also didn't sound for a long time. He naturally knew a little about Zhang Xiaoyang. A mere branch descendant of the Zhang family actually dared to interfere. Was this a dream? The manager came back to his senses and sorted out his emotions. He smiled and said, "Young Master Zhang Xiaoyang has bid 61 billion. Is there anyone else who wants to increase the price?" Zhang Xiaoyang, what are you doing? Do you have so many divine crystals? Young Master Yun's voice rang out, bringing with it an icy chill. Obviously. Zhang Xiaoyang's behavior made him very angry. Zhang Xiaoyang took a deep breath and looked at the VIP room where young Master Yun was. Young Master Yun, this is the Heaven Immortal Tower, not your house. Whether I have so many divine crystals or not, what does it have to do with you? How dare you? Before he finished speaking, a loud shout was heard. However, this shout did not come from young Master Yun. It came from Zhang Xiaofan, who was standing in the corridor of the 6th floor. Zhang Xiaofan angrily jumped down and landed in front of Zhang Xiaoyang. He raised his hand and ruthlessly slapped Zhang Xiaoyang's face. Pa! A bright red palm print suddenly appeared. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Half of his face was swollen, which showed how powerful the slap was. The two guards behind Zhang Xiaofan also looked at Zhang Xiaoyang angrily. In the face of this sudden scene, Qin Feiyang was quite astonished. Although Zhang Xiaoyang's status in the Zhang family wasn't high, they shouldn't treat him like this. With so many people watching, how embarrassing would that be? But after slapping Zhang Xiaoyang, Zhang Xiaofan still seemed to be angry. He grabbed Zhang Xiaoyang's clothes again and roared, "Are you crazy? He actually dared to oppose the Yun family? Do you know what consequences this will bring to our Zhang clan?" Zhang Xiaoyang looked at him expressionlessly. Zhang Xiaofan was burning with anger and shouted, "Kneel down and apologize to young Master Yun right now." Zhang Xiaoyang still turned a deaf ear. Zhang Xiaofan was furious. "Young Master, there are too many people here. We'll talk when we get back." Seeing this, the two guards hurriedly said in a low voice. Hearing this, Zhang Xiaofan glanced around and immediately kicked Zhang Xiaoyang's lower abdomen. Puff! Zhang Xiaoyang spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. He was in so much pain that his face was covered in cold sweat. "When we get back, I'll take care of you slowly." Zhang Xiaofan snorted coldly, then looked up at young Master Yun's VIP room and said with a flattering smile, "Brother Yun, I'm really sorry. The dog at home is not strict enough. Please forgive me." Everyone was used to this scene, as if they were already used to it. However, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but frown. Although he was afraid of the Yun family, he shouldn't be so humble. Upstairs. There was no movement from young Master Yun's VIP room. Zhang Xiaofan was extremely nervous. He bowed and said, "Brother Yun, I'm really sorry. When I get back, I'll teach him a good lesson." "All right. For your sake, I won't pursue this matter this time. But you have to remember that since it's a dog, it must be locked up properly. Otherwise, it will bring disaster to your Zhang family." Young Master Yun said lightly. "Don't worry, there won't be a next time." Zhang Xiaofan heaved a sigh of relief and looked at the restaurant manager. He smiled apologetically and said, "Just take it as a joke. I'm sorry." After that, he turned to the two guards and shouted, "Take him back." "Yes." The two guards replied and then walked toward Zhang Xiaoyang. "Get lost." But at this moment, Zhang Xiaoyang suddenly stood up and stared at the two guards and shouted. The two guards were a little confused. Zhang Xiaofan couldn't help but be taken aback. He immediately shouted, "How dare you shout in front of us, shut up." But before Zhang Xiaofan could finish, Zhang Xiaoyang shouted and roared, "You only dare to abuse your power in front of me." "What did you say?" Zhang Xiaofan said word by word, his face extremely gloomy. "Did I say something wrong? Ask the people here, who doesn't know your character. Weak and incompetent, bullying the weak and fearing the strong. When you see the people of the four major families, when you see people stronger than you, it's like a mouse seeing a cat. You can only show off in front of me and find some sense of existence." Zhang Xiaoyang roared. Zhang Xiaofan was furious. He raised his hand and slapped Zhang Xiaoyang again. But this time, Zhang Xiaoyang did not wait to be beaten. He raised his arm and grabbed Zhang Xiaofang's wrist, saying, "My Zhang family is a famous family. As a direct descendant and the son of the patriarch, you are like a dog all day long, bowing and scraping in front of them. Don't you find it embarrassing? Presumptuous, presumptuous." Zhang Xiaofan gritted his teeth and looked at the two guards beside him. He said angrily, "What are you waiting for? Cripple him and drag him back." The two guards nodded, their eyes flashing fiercely. "It seems that you have been kneeling for too long and can no longer stand up. My Zhang family is really full of talents." Zhang Xiaoyang laughed, but his laughter was full of mockery. "He is quite pitiful. Indeed, but the fact that the Zhang family is not as good as the four major families can't be changed. In front of the four major families, they have to bow and scrape. Acting on impulse like him will only harm the Zhang family." Some people whispered. These discussions entered Zhang Xiaoyang's ears, and the mockery on his face became thicker. He looked at Zhang Xiaofan and said, "Maybe in your eyes, bowing and scraping is natural, but I don't think so. I have had enough of your weakness. I will leave the Zhang family now, and from now on, I have nothing to do with the Zhang family." What? Everyone was shocked. Was he going to cut off all ties with the Zhang family? Zhang Xiaofan was also caught off guard. The two guards also stopped and looked at each other. Zhang Xiaoyang looked up at the top floor and said lightly, "Young Master Yun, I believe you have heard it. I have nothing to do with the Zhang family, so you don't have to threaten me with the Zhang family. These 10 bottles of immortal wine, I will take them today." "Good. Very good. Very good." Young Master Yun laughed. Zhang Xiaoyang looked at the steward and said, "Please continue the auction." The steward looked at him deeply and asked, Zhang Xiaoyang bid 60. 1 billion. Are there any more bids? Zhang Xiaoyang, I want to see what you can do. 70 billion. As soon as the voice fell, young Master Yun's contemptuous voice sounded. 1 billion. Zhang Xiaoyang said without hesitation, but his hands quietly retracted into his sleeves and clenched together. This abnormality was clearly noticed by Qin Feiyang. Because he was sitting opposite Zhang Xiaoyang, and Zhang Xiaoyang was standing at the moment, he could easily see it. 100 million, 100 million. Are you kidding? This is not a place to play house. If you don't have the ability, get out of here. 80 billion. Young Master Yun said. 1 billion. Zhang Xiaoyang raised the price again without hesitation. But there was a trace of nervousness in his eyes. Even sweat could be faintly seen on his forehead. 90 billion. Young Master Yun shouted. Zhang Xiaoyang said again, 90 billion, but before he finished, Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled, saying lightly, 100 billion. What, 100 billion? Everyone was shocked. Wait. That didn't seem to be Zhang Xiaoyang's voice. Everyone immediately scanned the hall. Who was bidding? Qin Feiyang looked at the crowd and said with a faint smile, Is there a problem? It's him. Everyone stared at Qin Feiyang, their eyes full of disbelief. Zhang Xiaoyang, Zhang Xiaofan, and the woman sitting next to Qin Feiyang were also stunned. Was he challenging young Master Yun by increasing the price by 10 billion? Wasn't this a little too extravagant? Qin Feiyang looked at the steward and said with a smile, If there's no problem, let's continue. Interesting. The steward mumbled and asked with a smile, May I know young master's name? Pai Lupi. Qin Feiyang said. So it's young Master Li. I've heard a lot about you. Nice to meet you. Young Master Li bid 100 billion. Is there anyone else? In fact, he had never heard of the name Pai Lupi. It was completely a polite remark. The Heaven Immortal Tower was silent for a moment. Young Master Yun said in a low voice, Pai Lupi, are you challenging me? Challenging? No, no. Young Master Yun's identity is noble. I'm just a nobody. How would I dare to challenge you? I'm just participating in a fair competition. I think young Master Yun wouldn't mind, right? If young Master Yun minds, I'll withdraw immediately as long as you say the word. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. This is a ruthless person. Yeah. Although it seems like he's complimenting young Master Yun, he's actually checkmating him. If young Master Yun were to really say that he minded, it would be extremely humiliating. People muttered. Chapter 2286. Looking at young Master Yun again. He was sitting in the VIP room with a gloomy face. The group of guards behind him also had ugly expressions on their faces. Suddenly, young Master Yun looked at the group of guards and asked, Have you heard of the name Pai Lupi? I have no impression of it at all. The group of guards shook their heads. Young Master Yun's eyes suddenly flickered, and he suddenly said, May I ask brotherly, which famous family are you from? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, A passerby. Passerby? Young Master Yun raised his eyebrows. So he was someone who had no family background and was wandering around? Young Master Yun suppressed his anger and said with a smile, Brotherly, you shouldn't be clear about the situation of my Yun family, right? Why don't I tell you in detail? Qin Feiyang said, Young Master Yun, we are in the middle of an auction, it's not good to say this. Explain the situation of the Yun family in detail? Wasn't this a blatant threat to him? If it was someone else, they might be afraid. But he, Qin Feiyang, had never been afraid of anyone. He even dared to challenge the dragons, let alone a small family. Young Master Yun said sternly, you are refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. I'm not interested in a toast or a forfeit. I'm only interested in the immortal intoxication. Why don't you stop talking nonsense and hurry up? Don't delay the business of the Heaven Immortal Tower. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Good, you have guts. In terms of wealth, I've never been afraid of anyone. 150 billion. Young Master Yun shouted. 150 billion? Qin Feiyang was stunned. This person was too crazy. As expected of a hedonistic son, he didn't even blink. However, this 150 billion was really a difficult problem. After plundering the wealth of the northern region over the years, coupled with the treasure vault of the city lord's mansion, he estimated that the divine crystals on him were only around 150 billion. If he continued to compete, he probably wouldn't be able to pay the bill later. Qin Feiyang, as a man, you have to do what you say. Don't make me despise you in the future. Hui Yi's voice suddenly sounded out in Qin Feiyang's mind. I don't have that many divine crystals. What do you want me to do? Qin Feiyang was speechless. Why should I care? Hui Yi said. Continue. Isn't he very arrogant? Why is there no sound? Young Master Yun laughed loudly. Look, how can you tolerate such an arrogant person? Hui Yi suddenly said, his words full of ridicule. Cut the crap. Qin Feiyang was furious. Zhang Xiaoyang sized up Qin Feiyang and transmitted his voice, Brother, I'll support you with 100 billion divine crystals. You just need to give me 2 pots. Qin Feiyang looked at Zhang Xiaoyang in surprise. This person actually had such insight? I know that you stood up to help me. I want to thank you. Because you're the 3rd person to lend me a helping hand in all these years. Zhang Xiaoyang thought to himself. Who are the 1st and 2nd? Qin Feiyang was curious. My parents. Zhang Xiaoyang said. Qin Feiyang suddenly came to a realization and said to himself, I didn't do it to help you, because I really did intend to bid from the beginning. It doesn't matter. Because this won't affect our cooperation. Zhang Xiaoyang said. Cooperation, Qin Feiyang smiled and looked up at the top floor. He said indifferently, I think it's boring to use divine crystals to bid. Why don't we use soul stones? What? Soul stones? This person is crazy. The Heaven Immortal Tower was in an uproar. The manager's face was also full of shock. Using soul stones to bid, this was something that he had never thought of before. No one was willing to use soul stones to trade. Qin Feiyang's gaze turned and landed on the manager. He smiled and said, Manager, can I? The manager hesitated for a moment and nodded with a smile. As long as both of you have no objections. Qin Feiyang said, Young Master Yun, your family is powerful. You shouldn't object, right? In the VIP room. Young Master Yun frowned. Young Master, this won't do. Although our Yun family is rich, we don't have many soul stones. Yes. You have to think twice, don't be tricked by him. The most important thing is that if we use soul stones to trade, the advantage of being a disciple on the heaven list will be there. That's right. Disciples on the heaven list can receive a large number of soul stones every month. A group of guards hurriedly said. The source of soul stones was the spirit vein. The spirit vein in East Tomb was similar to the North region. It was basically under the control of the Heavenly Cloud Mountain and the Treasure Pavilion. Therefore, even the 4 great families didn't have much. Young Master Yun, if you don't say, I'll take it that you agree? Then I'll go first. 10 billion soul stones. Qin Feiyang smiled. What? 10 billion soul stones at once. Everyone was petrified on the spot. Even a disciple on the heaven list wouldn't be able to do such a big thing. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, "Young Master Yun, it's your turn." "Young Master, please think twice." A group of guards hurriedly knelt on the ground and shouted. 10 billion soul stones. The Yun family could also afford it, but the other party was full of confidence. Who knew how high the price would soar in the end? Once it exceeded the range that the Yun family could afford, it would shake the foundation of the Yun family. This was no small matter. Therefore, they couldn't take this risk. At this moment, young Master Yun was extremely irritated. The other party was obviously provoking him on purpose. How could he tolerate this? But these guards were right. The soul stones were the foundation of the Yun family and couldn't be touched. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, looked at the steward, and said, "It seems that we can announce the result." The steward hesitated for a moment, then nodded and said, "All right, since there are no objections, then, wait. Did I agree to use soul stones to bid?" Young Master Yun said angrily. "Young Master Yun, this is your fault. I asked you just now, but you didn't say that you didn't agree." Qin Feiyang said. "But I didn't say that I agreed." Young Master Yun said in a deep voice. "You didn't say it, but when I asked you, you didn't say anything. Isn't this the same as admitting it? Young Master Yun, don't be a sore loser. This isn't just a loss of face for you, it's a loss of face for your entire Yun family." Qin Feiyang said. Young Master Yun roared, "Don't be presumptuous. See, you're angry out of humiliation. There's no need. If you lose, you lose. It's not the last auction. There will be plenty of chances in the future. Why bother?" Qin Feiyang laughed. Young Master Yun suddenly stood up, his body full of killing intent. "Young Master, don't be rash. This is the Heaven Immortal Tower, you can't fight." The group of guards hurriedly comforted him. "Who?" Young Master Yun glanced at the group of guards, took a deep breath, and said, "Fine, Pai Lupi, right? You're good. Let's wait and see." "Thank you for admitting it, young Master Yun." Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and smiled. "Then I'll announce the result. The winner of the 10 pots of immortal wine this time is Pai Lupi, young Master Li." The steward laughed loudly. 10 billion soul stones, amazing. This person's background is definitely not small. Someone said. The others also nodded. The steward looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Young Master Li, please come up and trade with our tower master." "What? Miss Immortal is also here? Why didn't you say so earlier? If I knew that it was a face-to-face trade with Miss Immortal, I would have sold everything to get these 10 pots of immortal wine." Everyone's face was full of regret. Especially those heaven-ranking disciples and young Master Yun. This was a rare opportunity to be alone with Miss Immortal. Miss Immortal, Qin Feiyang muttered, jumped, and landed next to the steward. Frankly speaking, he was also a little curious about this woman. Zhang Xiaofan looked at Qin Feiyang's back, walked to Zhang Xiaoyang's side, and asked in a low voice, "Zhang Xiaoyang, do you know him?" "I don't know him." Zhang Xiaoyang shook his head. "If you don't know him, you're sitting with him?" Zhang Xiaofan raised his eyebrows. "Do we have to know each other just because we're sitting together?" "Wait. I'm no longer a member of the Zhang family. What right do you have to meddle in my affairs?" After Zhang Xiaoyang finished speaking, he returned to his seat and ignored Zhang Xiaofan. Well, your wings have hardened, right? You think you can fly, right? Fine, wait for me, I'll make you regret it." After Zhang Xiaofan finished speaking, he turned and left angrily with 2 guards. The woman glanced at Zhang Xiaofan, looked at Zhang Xiaoyang, and said, "Young Master Zhang, are you serious?" "Yes." Zhang Xiaoyang nodded. "Then you have to be careful in the future. The woman smiled and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. An imperceptible light flashed in her eyes. On the top floor. The steward pushed open the door and said with a smile, "Young master, please come in." Qin Feiyang scanned the room. On the ground, there was a layer of fluffy white carpet, spotless. On the left, there was an exquisite tea table and 3 chairs neatly placed. On the tea table, there was a set of jade tea set. A woman in purple, with her back to the door, was sitting in front of the tea table, elegantly brewing tea. On the left and right of the woman in purple, there were 2 young women standing. One was wearing a red dress, the other was wearing a green dress. "Miss, he's here." The woman in green glanced at Qin Feiyang outside the door and whispered with a smile. The woman in purple said, "Then invite him in." "Okay." The woman in green turned and walked quickly to the door. Looking at Qin Feiyang, she laughed and said, "What are you standing here for? Come in." Qin Feiyang smiled and then entered the room under the jealous eyes of countless people. The woman in green looked at the steward and said, "Go and bring 10 pots of immortal wine." "Yes." The steward nodded and turned to leave. The woman in green also closed the door and ran to Qin Feiyang's side. She led Qin Feiyang to the tea table and said with a smile, "Young master, please sit opposite." Qin Feiyang nodded, walked to the opposite side of the woman in purple, and then looked at her. Immediately, there was a trace of amazement in his eyes. This woman was about 20 years old. Her eyebrows were picturesque, her skin was ice and jade bones, and her figure was perfect and flawless. It was no exaggeration to say that she could compete with the mermaid princess. "Young masterly?" The woman looked up at Qin Feiyang and asked. Qin Feiyang nodded and asked, "Miss Immortal?" The woman also nodded. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and smiled, "Nice to meet you." But then, his gaze was attracted by the teapot in the woman's hand. Chapter 2287. Smoke rose from the teapot, and the fragrance of the tea wafted into his nose. He had never smelled this tea fragrance before. There was a kind of fragrance of flowers and plants that made one intoxicated. Looking at the tea leaves in the teapot, they were like tender buds wrapped in dew, crystal clear and emitting a hazy treasure light. Miss Sky Fairy poured a cup and pushed it in front of Qin Feiyang, smiling, "Young master, try it?" Qin Feiyang glanced at her, picked up the teacup, put it at the tip of his nose and sniffed it, then put it at the corner of his mouth and tasted it carefully. His eyes lit up. As soon as the tea entered his mouth, his entire person seemed to be bathed in the spring breeze, as if he was standing on a grassland in spring. There was an indescribable enjoyment. Miss Sky Fairy said, "Young master, how do you feel?" "Not bad." Qin Feiyang nodded. This tea was the best of the best. But sometimes, even if he knew, he had to pretend not to know. For example, he couldn't see through the woman in front of him at all. So, he didn't want to be seen through by the other party. "It's just not bad?" Miss Sky Fairy looked at him in shock. Qin Feiyang smiled, "To be honest, I don't know much about tea." "No wonder." Miss Sky Fairy nodded in realization. "You brat, you really don't know how to appreciate favors. Do you know what tea this is? This is called Heavenly Immortal Dew. It was personally cultivated by Mississippi. It can be said that it is even more precious than Heavenly Immortal Dew. In the entire East Tomb, there are less than 10 people who have drunk Heavenly Immortal Dew." The 2 young women looked at Qin Feiyang with dissatisfaction and said, "Is that so? Then I'll have to drink a few more cups." Qin Feiyang held the teacup and drank it in one gulp. "Drinking like this is a reckless waste of natural resources. Miss, I told you not to treat him with Heavenly Immortal Dew, you didn't believe me. Now you see, he is a person who doesn't know what's good for him." The 2 of them were furious. Miss Sky Fairy looked at Qin Feiyang and scolded, little red, little green, don't be rude. Miss, the two of them were dissatisfied. You're not done, right? Miss Sky Fairy stared at the two of them. The two of them lowered their heads and pouted. Miss Heaven Fairy looked at Qin Fei Young and smiled, I have spoiled them too much and have no manners. Please don't take offense. No, no. Qin Fei Young hurriedly waved his hand, glanced at the two, and asked, They are? They are my personal maids. However, I have never treated them as maids. I have always seen them as younger sisters. Miss Celestial Immortal smiled. I see. Qin Fei Young nodded. It seemed that this woman's character was not bad. This was because a normal person would never treat their servant girls so well. Dong! At this moment, there was a knock on the door. Come in. Miss Celestial said. The door opened, and the steward walked in, saying, Young miss, the Celestial Immortal Intoxication has been brought. Miss Fairy pointed at the tea table and said, Leave it here and leave. Yes. The steward respectfully responded and walked to the tea table. With a wave of his hand, 10 pots of Celestial Immortal Intoxication appeared neatly on the tea table. Then, he turned and left the room, closing the door. Qin Fei Young glanced at the 10 pots of wine and thought, Fire Lotus, prepare 10 billion soul stones for me. 10 billion soul stones to buy these 10 pots of wine. Aren't you all too prodigal? In the castle's hall. Hearing Qin Fei Young's words, Fire Lotus immediately glared at Hua Yi angrily. Hua Yi was leisurely lying on a recliner, laughing. I'm so angry. Fire Lotus stomped her feet, turned around, and ran into Qin Fei Young's cultivation room. Outside. Miss Celestial Immortal sipped her tea, looked at Qin Fei Young, and said, Young Masterly, I can give these 10 pots of Celestial Immortal Intoxication to you. Qin Fei Young was stunned. Give it to him? This was too unexpected. However, was there such a good thing in the world? Of course. There's also a condition. Miss Celestial Immortal put down her teacup and said. I knew it. Qin Fei Young muttered. Miss Celestial Immortal's eyes flashed, and said, Lil, red. The red-clothed woman immediately took out a crystal from her bosom and placed it in front of Qin Fei Young. This is, Qin Fei Young's pupils contracted. This was actually a Heaven's Eye stone. Why did this woman give him a Heaven's Eye stone? Could it be, that she knew his identity? But that's not right. If she really knew his identity, there was no need to use the Heaven's Eye stone to verify it. Wouldn't it be fine to just lay all her cards on the table? Miss Celestial Immortal said, As long as you hold this Heaven's Eye stone, I will give you 10 pots of Celestial Intoxication. What do you mean? Qin Fei Young frowned. Miss Celestial Immortal said, I have to know who the person I'm giving the gift to is, right? Am I not Pai Lupi? Qin Fei Young said. Are you really Pai Lupi? Is this really your true face? Miss Celestial Immortal asked back. Qin Fei Young stared at Miss Celestial Immortal without blinking. What did he want to see from this woman's expression? However, after looking for a long time, he didn't catch any clues. Qin Dage, get ready. At this time, Fire Lotus's voice sounded in Qin Fei Young's mind. Qin Fei Young calmed down, took out an interspatial ring from the castle, threw it on the tea table, and said with a smile, I'm not interested in playing this kind of childish game with you. Count it. Is young Masterly guilty? Miss Celestial Immortal glanced at the interspatial ring and looked at Qin Fei Young with a trace of provocation in her eyes. Guilty? Qin Fei Young was stunned and said with a faint smile, if you say so. Miss Celestial Immortal raised her eyebrows and said, Xiao Hong, count it. Okay. The woman in red stepped forward, grabbed the interspatial ring, and poured her consciousness into it. A moment later, she nodded to Miss Celestial Immortal. Qin Feiyang immediately stood up and put away the 10 pots of Celestial Immortal wine. He cupped his hands and smiled, "Thank you for your hospitality, Mississippi, goodbye. I won't see you out." Miss Celestial Immortal smiled faintly. Qin Feiyang nodded to the 2 maids again, then walked to the door without looking back. He opened the door and strode away. "Miss, what are you doing? First, you entertained him with the celestial dew, and then you planned to give him the celestial immortal wine for free. Don't tell me you've taken a fancy to him?" Xiaohong and Xiao Lu looked at Miss Celestial Immortal suspiciously. Miss Celestial Immortal said, "Do you know why I'm auctioning 10 pots of celestial immortal wine today?" Xiaohong said, "We asked you a long time ago, but you refused to tell us. How could we not know? Now I can tell you. My goal is to lure Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi out." Miss Celestial Immortal said. "What? Lure them out? Miss, what are you trying to do? Do you really like them? Do you want them to be your husband? You can't do that." The 2 of them were incomparably anxious. Miss Celestial Immortal's face darkened. She directly gave the 2 of them a slap on the head and said angrily, "I really want to break open your heads and see what's inside." The 2 girls laughed dryly. Miss Celestial Immortal said, "I'm luring them out to settle the score with them. No one has ever dared to cause trouble in my Heaven Immortal Tower, let alone tear it down." "I see." The 2 girls were enlightened. "What else do you think?" Miss Celestial Immortal glared at the 2 of them. The 2 of them smiled embarrassedly. Xiaohong asked curiously, "Miss, why did you think of this plan to lure the snake out of its hole?" "According to the manager, that person called Hua Yi is addicted to alcohol. So I thought that using these 10 pots of celestial immortal wine should be able to lure him out. As for that Qin Feiyang, although he doesn't drink, I heard from my grandmother that the Northern Region Vice Pavilion Master told her that this person is a person who knows a lot about tea. So I took out the celestial immortal dew." Miss Celestial Immortal said. "So all of this is your trick, miss?" Xiaohong said. "Do you know how to speak? What trick? How can you say that about your miss?" Miss Celestial Immortal glared at Xiaohong angrily. Xiaohong giggled and said, "Miss, don't be angry. I'll try not to tell the truth in the future." "Try not to tell the truth?" Miss Celestial Immortal's face darkened. "Wrong, wrong. Miss, don't be angry. When I see you angry, I get nervous. When I get nervous, I always say the wrong thing." Xiaohong hurriedly waved her hand, but her face was full of laughter. Miss Tianxian shook her head helplessly and said, "Although the plan was not bad, the result was as expected. I can't see through this Pai Lupi at all." Xiao Lu and Xiaohong looked at each other and said, "Someone that you can't see through, miss, is definitely not simple. So I'm thinking, is he Qin Feiyang or Hua Yi? Also, when he faced me, he didn't show the slightest bit of humility or fear. He didn't even have any feelings for me. Do you think I'm not good-looking?" Miss Tianxian looked at the 2 of them and asked. "Good-looking, of course you're good-looking. Is the number 1 beauty of our Eastern tomb a joke? I reckon that this person might have a problem with his sexual orientation." "I think so too." Xiaohong and Xiaohong discussed seriously. Achoo! In the hall outside, Qin Feiyang was walking towards Zhang Xiaoyang when he suddenly sneezed. "Did someone miss me?" He rubbed his nose and walked to the dining table. "Young master," the woman who accompanied him was even more enthusiastic. She wanted nothing more than to crawl into Qin Feiyang's embrace. The people around were still looking at Qin Feiyang with jealousy. "Isn't it just a woman? Is there such an exaggeration?" Qin Feiyang was speechless. "Brotherly, there's something you don't know. This Miss Tian Xian is publicly acknowledged as the #1 beauty of Eastern Tomb and the goddess in the hearts of countless people. How can they not be jealous? Zhang Xiaoyang chuckled. Goddess, Qin Feiyang muttered, took out 2 pots of Tian Xian wine, placed them on the table, and said with a smile, "These 2 pots are for you." Zhang Xiaoyang was slightly stunned, and hurriedly waved his hand and said, "This won't do, this won't do, how can I take your things for free?" Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile, "Although this is the first time you and I have met, it is fate that we met. Accept it." This, Zhang Xiaoyang looked at Qin Feiyang and the 2 pots of Tian Xian wine, nodded and said, "All right, I, Zhang Xiaoyang, will owe you a favor. If there is a chance in the future, I will definitely return it." "We'll see." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Zhang Xiaoyang put away the 2 pots of Tian Xian wine and couldn't wait to get up, and said with a smile, "Brotherly, I still have something urgent, see you later." "Okay. Also, settle the bill." Qin Feiyang nodded. Chapter 2288. You've settled the bill? Zhang Xiaoyang was stunned. Qin Feiyang said, "When you asked for a seat, weren't you the one who said that you'll pay for all my expenses in the Heaven Immortal Tower today? Look at me. I'm so happy that I forgot." Of course, of course. Waiter, the bill." Zhang Xiaoyang slapped his head and said to the waiter behind the counter. The waiter brought over a bill and handed it to Zhang Xiaoyang with a smile. "A total of 10,000 divine crystals." "Okay." Zhang Xiaoyang took out 10,000 divine crystals and handed it to the waiter without hesitation. Qin Feiyang pointed at the woman next to him and smiled at Zhang Xiaoyang. "And her 100 million. 100 million? What do you mean?" Zhang Xiaoyang was stunned. "Young Master Zhang, it's my service fee, of course." The woman got up and hugged Zhang Xiaoyang's arm with a smile. Zhang Xiaoyang was stunned. He pushed the woman away and sat beside Qin Feiyang. He whispered, "Brother, I know the market price here. It's at most 100,000. If you're more generous, it's 500,000 or 1 million. Why did you give her 100 million divine crystals?" Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "We agreed beforehand. I can't go back on my word, right? Even the playboys of the 4 major clans aren't as generous as you." Zhang Xiaoyang was speechless. In other words, Qin Feiyang was more of a spendthrift than those playboys. But thinking back, he even had 10 billion soul stones. What was a mere 100 million divine crystals? Although he felt a little heartache, since he had already agreed to pay, he couldn't go back on his word, right? Besides, the other party had also given him 2 bottles of heavenly immortal wine for free, so he counted out 100 million divine crystals and handed it to the woman. "Goodbye. Take care." After Zhang Xiaoyang left, Qin Feiyang ignored the gazes around him. He lowered his head and drank while pondering. Why wasn't the demon ancestor here yet? Could it be that Shen Qianshan hadn't found him yet? That couldn't be right. With Shen Qianshan's status in the heavenly cloud mountain, it should be easy for him to find a disciple. "Young master, are you free tonight?" The woman asked as she looked at Qin Feiyang with a face full of smiles. "What?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. The woman smiled charmingly and said, "If you're free, come to my house for a cup of tea and a chat." His intentions were clear. Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. He shook his head and said, "Thank you, but there's no need." After saying that, he raised his head and looked at the VIP room on the top floor. A trace of disappointment crept into the woman's eyes as she asked suspiciously, "What are you looking at?" Qin Feiyang asked, "Why aren't there any movements from those disciples on the heaven roll and the 4 debauches? When you went to see Miss Sky Fairy, they had already left. However, you have to be careful. That young Master Yun is narrow-minded. He won't let you go just like that. The woman warned. Really? Qin Feiyang chuckled and picked up the wine cup, preparing to drink. What are you doing? Don't go too far. But at this moment, a furious roar came from outside. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. Wasn't that Zhang Xiaoyang's voice? I'm giving you face, but you don't want it. Cripple him for me. Another extremely arrogant voice sounded. Zhang Xiaofeng? Qin Feiyang frowned. The woman said in a low voice, Young master, you have already done your best for Zhang Xiaoyang. Don't meddle in other people's business. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang was silent for a while, and a faint smile gradually crept onto his face. That made sense. In Dongling, he was just a passerby. There was no need to get involved in such troublesome matters. Ah, a painful scream rang out. It was Zhang Xiaoyang who was screaming. Give me back the celestial immortal wine. Following closely, Zhang Xiaoyang roared. You think a piece of trash like you is worthy of having the celestial immortal wine? Zhang Xiaofeng's mocking voice also sounded. Qin Feiyang's relaxed brows knitted together again. Young master, you have already given him the celestial immortal wine. As for whether he can keep it or not, it's his own business. Don't worry about it. The woman grabbed Qin Feiyang's hand and shook her head. Qin Feiyang looked at the woman and said, I find that you care about me more than usual. Of course. You are my patron. If I don't care about you, who will I care about? I still hope that the next time you come, you will reward me with 100 million divine gems. The woman laughed. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. He put down the wine glass and got up to walk towards the door of the restaurant. Alas! Seeing this, the woman shook her head helplessly. Outside, on the street. At this moment, there was a sea of people. In the middle of the crowd, Zhang Xiaofeng grabbed an interspatial ring and looked down at Zhang Xiaoyang who was lying on the ground. His face was full of contempt. Next to him, the eyes of the two guards were also shining with cold light. Looking at Zhang Xiaoyang again, his lower abdomen was bleeding and his face was pale. But more than that, there was anger. Although there were many people around, they were all watching coldly. No one stood out to speak up for Zhang Xiaoyang. Qin Feiyang stood behind the crowd and looked at the arrogant Zhang Xiaofeng. He was extremely disgusted. Just as Zhang Xiaoyang said, he was a bully who feared the strong. Zhang Xiaofeng glanced at Zhang Xiaoyang with disdain. He poured his divine thought into the interspatial ring and directly erased the blood contract with Zhang Xiaoyang. Then, he dripped his blood on the ring to claim ownership. Then, Zhang Xiaofeng checked the interspatial ring and took out 2 flagons. They were the 2 flagons of immortal wine that Qin Feiyang gave Zhang Xiaoyang. Zhang Xiaofeng squatted on the ground and said jokingly, Do you really want immortal wine? Give it back to me, give it back to me, Zhang Xiaoyang roared hysterically. Bang! Zhang Xiaofeng dropped the flagons and the 2 flagons of immortal wine fell to the ground and smashed into pieces. The strong fragrance of the wine immediately drifted out. What a waste. Yeah. Even if you have a grudge, you shouldn't waste it like this. People murmured. Looking at the smashed flagons, Zhang Xiaoyang was dumbfounded. Then, he looked up and stared at Zhang Xiaofeng. He roared, What are you doing? What am I doing? Don't you like immortal wine? I'll give you a chance now. Lick it clean bit by bit. Zhang Xiaofeng got up, stepped aside, and glanced at the 2 guards. The 2 guards understood. They stepped forward, grabbed Zhang Xiaoyang's head, and forced him to the ground. This is a bit too much. People murmured. Immortal wine, Zhang Xiaoyang murmured and closed his eyes in pain. It was not easy to get these 2 flagons of immortal wine, but they were smashed into pieces just like that? How hateful. All of a sudden, he opened his eyes, which were full of killing intent. He said word by word, "Zhang Xiaofan, I swear, I will not let you go. How dare you threaten me? Break his limbs for me." Zhang Xiaofan shouted. One of the guards released his hand and took out a dagger with a cruel smile on his face. "That's enough. Don't go too far." But at this time, a voice sounded behind the crowd. Zhang Xiaofan raised his eyebrows, glanced at the crowd, and shouted, "Who's talking? We're all from the same family. Is it necessary to be so ruthless?" The voice sounded again. Zhang Xiaofang's eyes were like lightning. He immediately caught sight of the person who spoke. A cold light surged in his eyes, and he said, "It's you." "Yes, it's me." "That's right." The person who spoke was Qin Feiyang. He didn't want to get involved in this matter. But seeing Zhang Xiaoyang being bullied like this, he really couldn't bear it, so he interrupted. "This has nothing to do with you. You'd better mind your own business." Zhang Xiaofang said in a deep voice. "I don't mean to interfere. I'm just giving you a kind advice. After all, there's a saying that it's better to squash enmity than keep it alive." Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Just as Qin Feiyang spoke, the crowd in front of him automatically separated. Although he didn't want to interfere, others didn't think so. Everyone thought that he wanted to stand up for Zhang Xiaoyang, so they consciously made way for him. Similarly, Zhang Xiaofang was the same. Since he didn't care, why did he interrupt? Did he think he was an idiot? Qin Feiyang looked at the crowd and said speechlessly, "I really don't mean to interfere." Everyone looked at him with disdain, as if to say that only a ghost would believe him. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly and walked to the opposite side of Zhang Xiaofang. Looking at the wine spilled all over the ground, he shook his head and said, 2 billion soul stones, smashed into pieces just like that. It's really heartbreaking. 10 bottles of immortal wine, 10 billion soul stones. 2 bottles, naturally, was 2 billion. Zhang Xiaofang frowned and said, "You've already given it to him. This has nothing to do with you." Qin Feiyang said, "Who said I gave it to him? I'm temporarily keeping it for him." "Huh?" Zhang Xiaofang was stunned. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "I don't care about 2 bottles of immortal wine. Let him go, I won't make you compensate." "Compensate?" Zhang Xiaofang looked at Qin Feiyang in shock and laughed, "Are you talking in your sleep? Don't be so rude." Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile. "I'm just being rude. What can you do? I didn't dare to cause trouble in the Heaven Immortal Tower just now. But now, we're outside. You'd better not provoke me. Otherwise," Zhang Xiaofang's face was filled with a cold smile. "Otherwise what? I don't believe that you dare to disregard human life in broad daylight." Qin Feiyang said. "Provoking me?" Zhang Xiaofang's eyes suddenly sank. "No. But if you want to think so, I don't care." Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Zhang Xiaofang clenched his hands and looked at the guard holding the dagger. Killing intent flashed in the guard's eyes. He immediately grabbed the dagger and stabbed it at Qin Feiyang's back. Qin Feiyang glanced at the guard and said to Zhang Xiaofang, "It's not too late for him to stop now. What are you being arrogant for? You're just a low-stage divine lord. If I want to kill you, it's as easy as killing a chicken. Kill him for me." Zhang Xiaofang couldn't hold it in anymore and shouted at the guard. Qin Feiyang's calmness and indifference from the beginning made him very unhappy. Sigh. "It seems that I have no choice but to be the good guy this time." Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. After saying that, he suddenly turned around and raised his hand to grab the dagger in the guard's hand. What? Everyone's eyes widened in shock. Grabbing a divine weapon with his bare hands? One must know that the dagger was a high-grade divine weapon. Could it be that he was wearing something on his hand? But on closer look, this person didn't wear anything on his hand. This scene was hard for everyone to accept. The guard was also dumbfounded. Grabbing a divine weapon with his bare hands, how strong was his physical body? But then, an even more shocking scene appeared. Qin Feiyang suddenly exerted force. Accompanied by a loud clang, the dagger in the guard's hand was immediately shattered into pieces. Chapter 2289. This, everyone's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Not only did he catch a divine artifact with his bare hands, he even crushed a high-grade divine artifact with his bare hands. Was he a monster? He was too ridiculously strong. Zhang Xiaofang's face was also filled with disbelief. Zhang Xiaoyang raised his head and stared at Qin Feiyang in shock. Who would have thought that this sickly-looking young man would be so powerful? The entire place was dead silent. On the top floor of the Heaven Immortal Tower, in a room on the street, Miss Heaven Immortal stood in front of the half-closed window and looked at Qin Feiyang in the middle of the crowd below. Amazing! I really didn't expect him to have such strength. Little Red and Little Green were also there and they were both amazed. Miss Heaven Immortal's eyes revealed a strange light and she whispered, crushing a high-grade divine artifact with his bare hands, our Eastern tomb doesn't have such a talent. Miss, you can't be thinking that he is Qin Feiyang again, right? I think you are a bit bewitched now, thinking that anyone you see is him. What do you know? Our Miss is feeling amorous. So it's like this, no wonder, the two women said meaningfully. Miss Heaven Immortal rolled her eyes. Below. The guard came back to his senses and suddenly retreated, his face was filled with fear. The other guard also decisively let go of Zhang Xiaoyang and stared at Qin Feiyang with vigilance. You two are great success divine lords, why are you afraid of him, a small success divine lord? Kill him for me. Zhang Xiaofang shouted. The two looked at each other and immediately pounced at Qin Feiyang. You want to die so badly? Then I will fulfill your wish. Qin Feiyang chuckled. An invisible force emerged and pounced towards the two of them. Soul destruction technique. Ah, the two immediately screamed and fell to the ground, dead. What? They died just like that? How did he do it? Everyone was shocked. What was that invisible force? It actually killed two great success divine lords in an instant? The most important thing was, there were no wounds on the two's body. Two of the more courageous ones released their divine sense to check on the two of them. He wouldn't have known if he hadn't looked, but now that he did, his face couldn't help but turn pale. What is it? Everyone looked at them in surprise. Their souls, the two of them spoke with great difficulty, their faces filled with disbelief. Divine soul? When everyone heard this and saw that Qin Feiyang did not show any signs of anger, they all released their divine senses to check. This, in an instant. Everyone was dumbfounded. He had actually erased their divine souls. When they looked at Qin Feiyang again, everyone's eyes were filled with fear that could not be dispelled. He actually possessed a killing technique that could directly obliterate one's soul. His divine soul was indestructible and immortal. What he meant was that as long as one's soul existed, one would not die. Even if his physical body was destroyed, as long as a wisp of his divine soul remained, he could return to his peak step by step. On the contrary, if his divine soul were to dissipate, then even if he had a peerless divine pill, he would still be powerless to reverse the situation. Therefore, killing techniques that targeted the divine soul were what every living being feared. Just like Zhang Xiaofang at this moment, he could no longer be arrogant. His face was pale as he trembled. He had never imagined that the other party would be such a terrifying person. The most important thing was, the other party did not seem to be afraid of his family background at all. Zhang Xiaoyang got up, looked at Qin Feiyang, and bowed, "Thank you, brotherly, for saving my life." Qin Feiyang frowned and said, "You are at least a beginner divine lord, why didn't you fight back?" Zhang Xiaoyang was a beginner divine lord, and the two guards were divine lords. Although they were not a match for the two of them, as a man, how could he stand there and take a beating? Zhang Xiaoyang lowered his head in shame. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, "It seems that you have been bullied a lot in the Zhang family. Otherwise, you wouldn't even have the courage to do this." Zhang Xiaoyang became more and more ashamed. Qin Feiyang glanced at him, then turned to look at Zhang Xiaofan, who was already paralyzed on the ground, and said helplessly, "I didn't play with you. I really didn't intend to interfere in the beginning. You were the one who was aggressive. I'm sorry, I was blind. It's my fault. I apologize to you," Zhang Xiaofan hurriedly said. "You want to settle this with just an apology? How can there be such a simple thing in the world? Since you did something wrong, you naturally have to pay the price. Don't you think so?" Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Yes. I'm willing to compensate you for your loss," Zhang Xiaofan nodded repeatedly. "That's more like it. Come, get up quickly. There are so many people watching. How can you be paralyzed on the ground?" Qin Feiyang stepped forward to help Zhang Xiaofan up, his face full of smiles. "Don't be like this, I'm afraid," Zhang Xiaofan looked at Qin Feiyang in fear. "Don't be afraid. Actually, I'm a good person. I'm not bragging. You can tell from the fact that I stood up for Zhang Xiaoyang. I'm very kind. Really. As long as you have a proper attitude, I will talk to you properly," Qin Feiyang said with a smile. "Good person? I really can't tell." Little Red and Little Green, who were standing beside Miss Sky Immortal, couldn't help but pout, their eyes full of disdain. Miss Sky Immortal had a smile on her face. "This person is really interesting." Qin Feiyang looked at Zhang Xiaofan and said with a smile, "Shall we go to the Heaven Immortal Tower to sit down and talk, or do you want to talk here?" Zhang Xiaofan looked at Qin Feiyang with a panicked expression. He really couldn't understand what this person wanted to do. "Why don't we go to the Heaven Immortal Tower? We can find a private room and talk alone. I'm doing this for your own good. Look at how many people there are here. I don't want to embarrass you." Qin Feiyang chuckled. Hearing this, Zhang Xiaofang's face changed and said with a flattering smile, "It's okay, I'm not afraid of being embarrassed. Let's talk here. Find a private room and talk alone." If he were to torture him, he wouldn't be able to do anything. "All right, as you wish." Qin Feiyang nodded. "It's him, surround him." But suddenly, in the sky, an angry roar sounded. Everyone raised their heads and saw a young man in luxurious clothes flying over with dozens of guards. Young Master Yun. Everyone's pupils constricted. Zhang Xiaofan was stunned and immediately looked at Qin Feiyang. He laughed and said, "Young Master Yun has brought people here. You're finished. Brotherly, let's go." Zhang Xiaoyang also hurriedly went to Qin Feiyang's side and whispered, "Go?" Qin Feiyang raised the corner of his mouth and looked at young Master Yun's group. Including young Master Yun, there were a total of more than 50 people. Young Master Yun was a beginner divine lord. The group of guards were all perfect divine lords. Such a lineup, in Heaven Luo City, indeed had the capital to be arrogant. But it was not enough for him. Wait. Isn't flying not allowed in Heaven Luo City? Suddenly, Qin Feiyang turned to look at Zhang Xiaoyang and asked. That was in the past. Now that the city lord is dead, no one obeys this rule. Brotherly, do you know how the city lord died? Zhang Xiaoyang asked. How did he die? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. He was killed by two people called Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi. These two people are arrogant. Hedonistic young masters like young Master Yun are simply not worth mentioning compared to them. Zhang Xiaoyang's face was full of admiration. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang said. Zhang Xiaoyang whispered, not only did they kill the city lord, but they also killed the law enforcement hall master of Heavenly Cloud Mountain. Don't you think they are arrogant? They are indeed arrogant. Qin Feiyang nodded. But he couldn't help but laugh in his heart. This Zhang Xiaoyang probably would never have thought that the so-called arrogant person in his words was standing in front of him. Young Master Yun flew over and stood in the sky arrogantly. He stared at Qin Feiyang and laughed. Do you still remember what I said to you? And then? Qin Feiyang laughed. This day next year will be the anniversary of your death. Kill him for me. Young Master Yun roared. A group of imperial bodyguards immediately swarmed towards Qin Feiyang to kill him. You want to kill me with such a motley crew? Aren't you looking down on me too much? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. An invisible force emerged again. Soul destruction technique. In an instant. Following a series of cries of agony, the group of guards fell to the ground like fallen leaves. They died before they could figure out what was going on. This, young Master Yun's eyes widened in anger. What was going on? So many perfection divine lords had died in an instant. Was he seeing a ghost? The surrounding crowd, Zhang Xiaoyang, and Zhang Xiaofan were also shocked. And this shock was even stronger than before. The previous two were only great success divine lords, but these people were all perfection divine lords. Their cultivation levels were 2 whole levels apart. But in the end, it was still an instant kill. What level was this killing technique? Bang! 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 Bodies fell to the ground one after another. Their eyes were wide open, filled with fear before death. Everyone also came back to their senses. Zhang Xiaofeng's face turned pale. He smiled and said, Brotherly, I'm sorry. I was just talking in my sleep. Please don't mind. Qin Feiyang raised his arm. Plop. Seeing this, Zhang Xiaofan was so frightened that he knelt on the ground. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He shook his head helplessly and said, I just wanted to pat your shoulder and tell you not to be nervous. Why are you so scared? Is that so? Zhang Xiaofan was a little confused. Could it be that he was scaring himself? Qin Feiyang patted Zhang Xiaofeng's shoulder and looked up at young Master Yun. He smiled and said, Come down and have a chat. Young Master Yun quivered and turned to escape. Only now did he realize that this was someone he could not afford to offend. Since you're already here, why go back? Qin Feiyang smiled and took a step forward. He instantly appeared in front of young Master Yun. What do you want to do? Young Master Yun slammed on the brakes and stopped. His face was filled with panic. Didn't I say that I just want to have a chat? Please. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Young Master Yun looked at the corpses of the guards and couldn't help but shiver. He smiled and said, Big brotherly, I still have something to do at home. Can we do it another day? What do you think? Qin Feiyang asked. Of course. I'll definitely come and apologize another day. Goodbye. Young Master Yun said flatteringly and then turned to flee in the other direction. Shua. Qin Feiyang took another step forward and stood in front of young Master Yun. His speed is so fast. Miss Celestial Immortal whispered. Is it fast? I didn't notice it. He's a small success divine lord. Young Master Yun is only an early success divine lord. It's normal for him to be faster than young Master Yun. Xiao Lu and the other girl said. Miss Celestial Immortal glanced at the two girls and didn't say anything. She continued to pay attention to Qin Feiyang. Chapter 2290. In the air. Young Master Yun was burning with anxiety. Looking at Qin Feiyang, he roared, I already said that I'll come and apologize another day. What else do you want? Do you know where my house is? Qin Feiyang laughed. Young Master Yun had the urge to curse. This was just a perfunctory sentence, what was there to take it seriously? However, he could only endure it and smile obsequiously. Look at me, I was so anxious that I forgot to ask, Big Brother, where is your house? Qin Feiyang laughed, my house is in the underworld. What? Underworld? Young Master Yun was stunned. Yes. How about I send you to my house to take a look? Qin Feiyang looked at him playfully. No need, no need. Young Master Yun hurriedly waved his hand, and a chill could not help but emerge in his heart. Underworld? Didn't this mean that he was going to kill him? Qin Feiyang said, even if you don't want to go, then don't talk nonsense, please. Young Master Yun flew downwards with a mournful face. Sigh. Why was he so unlucky? He clearly looked weak, but who would have thought that he was a devil that could not be provoked? Landing in the middle of the crowd, young Master Yun looked at Zhang Xiaofan. Looking at Zhang Xiaofang's miserable appearance, his heart felt a lot better. At least he had a companion. Qin Feiyang looked at the two of them and laughed, then let's settle the score. What score? Young Master Yun was suspicious. You guys came to find trouble with me one after another, causing my heart and spirit to be seriously injured. You have to give me some compensation. Qin Feiyang said. So you want benefits? Young Master Yun muttered in his heart and smiled obsequiously, of course, just say the word. Anything that could be settled with money was not a problem. Besides, his Yun family was so poor that they only had money. It didn't matter. Let's talk about you first. Qin Feiyang looked at Zhang Xiaofan and said with a smile, I'm not going too far. You broke my 2 pots of immortal wine, so I'll compensate you 10 times the auction price. 10 times? Zhang Xiaofang's expression stiffened. Let me calculate. I bid for it with 10 billion soul stones. 1 pot equals 1 billion. If it's 10 times, 2 pots would be 20 billion. In addition to the compensation for psychological damage, I'll charge you a total of 30 billion. Remember, these 30 billion are not divine crystals. They are soul stones. Qin Feiyang smiled. You call this not going overboard? Zhang Xiaofan gritted his teeth and glared at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang turned a blind eye and turned to look at young Master Yun. Young Master Yun said with a flattering smile, Brotherly, I didn't break your immortal intoxication. There's no need to compensate so much. Don't worry. Listen to me slowly. When we were bidding for the celestial immortal intoxication, you repeatedly insulted me, causing me to feel very uncomfortable now. Let's count it as 10 billion here. Then, which is now, you brought so many people to find trouble with me. Fortunately, my strength is not bad. Otherwise, would have died in your hands. Let's go by the head count. Let me see, you brought a total of. It seems to be 52 people, I'll give you a round number. Only 50 people, 1 billion each, added up to 50 billion. As for the rest, I'm a magnanimous person, so I won't count it with you. In other words, you only need to give me 60 billion as compensation. It's not much. I believe your Yun family must have it. Remember, it's also soul stones. Qin Feiyang smiled. What a devil. The people around couldn't help but mutter. How was this compensation? It was simply extortion. At this moment, young Master Yun's face was even uglier than if he had eaten feces. How could he calculate 60 billion? How could these guards be counted? And it was calculated by the head count. This was too outrageous. Besides, the death of these guards seemed to be his loss, wasn't it? Because they were his guards. By right, he should be the one to settle this account. Could he be more reasonable? What? Aren't you happy? Qin Feiyang looked at the two suspiciously. The two were about to speak. Qin Feiyang said again, if you don't want to, then I can only invite you to my house. Of course, of course. The two hurriedly smiled. They were young and hadn't had enough fun. Who would want to go to the underworld? They had to agree first. As for whether they would pay in the end, it was not up to this person to decide. Straightforward. I like good children like you. Qin Feiyang laughed and then took out a brush, ink, paper, and inkstone from the universe ring. Children? You don't seem to be that old. The two complained and then looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Why did he take out a brush, ink, paper, and inkstone? Qin Feiyang waved his hand and 4 pieces of paper spread out in the void. Then he grabbed the brush and waved it. Soon, small words appeared on the 4 pieces of paper. The general content was, today, I, Zhang Xiaofan, owe Pai Lupi 30 billion soul stones. I will give it all tomorrow. Today, I, young Master Yun, owe Pai Lupi 60 billion soul stones. I will give it all tomorrow. If you don't pay, I will give you my head. After writing, Qin Feiyang waved at the two and said with a smile, come here and leave a bloody handprint. It's quite formal. The two muttered. Hurry up. Qin Feiyang urged impatiently. Okay. The two nodded and ran to Qin Feiyang's side. Young Master Yun was straightforward. He directly cut his palm and left a striking bloody handprint. But Zhang Xiaofan was a little hesitant. What are you afraid of? It's just a piece of paper. So what if you sign it? I don't believe that he really dares to ask for it from us. Young Master Yun sneered secretly. That's true. Zhang Xiaofan responded in his mind and immediately pressed the bloody handprint. This contract is made in 2 copies, one for each of us. By the way, let me give you a piece of advice. Don't take any chances because the consequences of going back on your word are very serious. Qin Feiyang said. No. The two hurriedly shook their heads. That's good. Qin Feiyang nodded and put away the 2 contracts. He waved his hand and said, you can go now. When the 2 of them heard this, they immediately fled into the crowd, disappearing without a trace. How childish. Upstairs. Little Green looked at Qin Feiyang and mocked. Indeed. Does he think that he can make the Zhang family and the Yun family obediently hand over the soul stones with just a contract? Such a prestigious family is not the treasure pavilion. The spirit of the contract is worthless in their eyes. This person is still too inexperienced. Little Red also said. Then what do you think will happen if the Zhang family and the Yun family go back on their word? Miss Fairy asked. What else can he do? Stare. He still dares to go to the Zhang family and the Yun family to ask for it? If he really dares to go, I dare say that he will definitely not be able to return. Not only will he not return, I'm afraid that not even his bones will be left. The 2 girls said. Then let's wait and see. Let's see what method he will use to resolve this matter. Miss Fairy smiled. Zhang Xiaoyang looked at Qin Feiyang with admiration and said with a smile, brotherly, you're really good. I admire you. It's nothing. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and asked, what are your plans next? Zhang Xiaoyang said, I'm going to continue looking for the celestial immortal wine. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and asked suspiciously, "Why do you want the celestial immortal wine so much?" Zhang Xiaoyang wanted to say something but hesitated. He seemed to be a little wary of this question. "If you don't want to say it, then forget it. We'll meet again if fate wills it." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and turned to leave. He did not go to the Heaven Immortal Tower again. Looking at Qin Feiyang's back, Zhang Xiaoyang's eyes had a trace of struggle. In the end, he tailed him all the way. Buzz. Soon. Qin Feiyang's image crystal suddenly rang. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Could it be Shen Qianshan and Chou Tianwei? This was because he had established a contract with the two of them in East Tomb. He looked around and saw a secluded alley. He directly walked in. Then, seeing that there was no one around, he entered the ancient castle. "Where's my celestial immortal wine?" Hua Yiho anxiously ran in front of him and shouted. Qin Feiyang directly ignored him and took out the image crystal. Outside. Zhang Xiaoyang also followed and entered the alley. But after entering the alley, he was immediately stunned. Where was he? In the ancient castle. At this moment, in the void in front of Qin Feiyang, there was a shadow. It was Shen Qianshan. Qin Feiyang said, "I was just about to send you a message." Shen Qianshan asked, "Do you want to ask about the fiend ancestor's situation?" Qin Feiyang replied. Shen Qianshan said, "I've investigated. There was indeed such a person in Heavenly Cloud Mountain, and he had a demonic dragon by his side." Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Hua Yi glanced at him and frowned. "Past is the main point, okay?" Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. It seemed to be true. Then, he looked at Shen Qianshan suspiciously. Shen Qianshan hesitated and said, "This might not be good news. You have to be mentally prepared." Qin Feiyang's heart sank. He said, "Please speak." Shen Qianshan said, "According to my secret investigation, the fiend ancestor and the demonic dragon were already dead a year ago." What? Qin Feiyang was stunned. The fiend ancestor was actually dead? Hua Yi glanced at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Old Shen, are you sure the information is correct?" "Yes." Shen Qianshan said. "That's impossible. Dong Zhengyang said that people who have activated the 10 heaven-defying battle souls will not die so easily." Qin Feiyang lowered his head and muttered to himself. Shen Qianshan said, "If this person is really important to you, then I can only say, please restrain your grief." "How did he die?" Qin Feiyang raised his head and looked at Shen Qianshan, frowning. Shen Qianshan said, "It is said that he went to the Tianluo Sea to train and died under the claws of sea beasts." Sea beasts? Qin Feiyang was stunned. The fiend ancestor had a heaven-defying divine artifact. How could a mere sea beast kill him? Moreover, whether it was the fiend ancestor's methods or brains, he had personally experienced them. How could he die in training? This was too absurd. But Shen Qianshan should not lie to him. What was going on? Could it be that the heaven-defying divine artifact had abandoned the fiend ancestor? Because only in this situation could the fiend ancestor die in training. Where is the Tianluo Sea? When he died, did anyone see it? Qin Feiyang asked. The Tianluo Sea is our Eastern Tomb's biggest forbidden area, just like the Sky Dragon Sea in your northern region. And when the fiend ancestor died, someone saw it with their own eyes. Shen Qianshan said. Who? Qin Feiyang asked. This person has already been killed by you. He is our Heavenly Cloud Mountain's law enforcement hall master. Shen Qianshan said. Her? This is too much of a coincidence. Qin Feiyang was speechless. Once this woman died, there would be no more clues. Chapter 2291. Wait. Isn't there still Sumo? Sumo is that woman's elder brother, so he must know a thing or two. Senior, have you asked Sumo? Qin Feiyang looked at Shen Qianshan and asked. I did. According to Sumo, the demon ancestor is just a core disciple, so he didn't care about this matter and didn't ask in detail. Shen Qianshan said. Qin Feiyang sighed helplessly and said with a smile, all right, thank you, senior. No need. Shen Qianshan waved his hand. Hua Yi asked, have you been to the northern region? Yes. The people of Nine Heavens Palace and Treasure Pavilion already know of the ancestral dragon's killing intent. Shen Qianshan smiled. That's good. Hua Yi sighed in relief. Shen Qianshan asked, what are your plans next? Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, I haven't decided yet. Shen Qianshan said, all right then, send me a message if there's anything. All right. Qin Feiyang nodded and turned off the image crystal. He lowered his head and frowned. Hua Yi sighed deeply and looked at Qin Feiyang. He smiled and said, since the demon ancestor is dead, then there's no need for us to continue staying in Eastern Tomb, right? Qin Feiyang nodded and frowned. But I still don't believe that the demon ancestor is dead. Think about it, how can a person with a heaven-defying divine artifact die under the claws of a sea beast? Moreover, the power of law of the demon ancestor's heaven-defying divine artifact is space-time travel. Space-time travel? Hua Yi was stunned and nodded. Then it's indeed not so easy to die. Qin Feiyang said, so I feel that there's something unusual about this. You suspect that Shen Qianshan is lying to us? Hua Yi was surprised. I don't know. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Hua Yi said, then what if the demon ancestor is really dead? Wouldn't we be wasting time in Eastern Tomb? This, Qin Feiyang was a little confused. He had never had a good impression of the demon ancestor, but now that he suddenly heard the news of the demon ancestor's death, he seemed to feel a little sad. How about this? Let's go talk to Sumo, Hua Yi said. Looking for Sumo? Qin Feiyang was stunned and speechless. Don't forget, you killed his sister. So what? If he dares to mess around, I'll destroy him. Hua Yi said domineeringly. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed in spite of himself. It was indeed different when one was strong. He nodded and said, all right then, I'll think of a way to find Sumo. Hua Yi chuckled and said, now you can give me the celestial immortal intoxication. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. He took out 8 jugs of heavenly immortal wine and threw them to Hua Yi. Hua Yi quickly waved his hand, and his god force surged out, stopping the 8 jugs of heavenly immortal wine. He then said angrily, can't you be more careful? Can you afford it if it's broken? Qin Feiyang froze and said with a frown, are you mistaken? This celestial immortal intoxication was bought by me? But now that it's in my hands, it's mine. Even if it's broken, you still have to pay for it. Hua Yi said. Shameless. Qin Feiyang glared at him and left the castle. When he saw Zhang Xiaoyang looking around, Qin Feiyang was stunned. Zhang Xiaoyang was also stunned when he saw Qin Feiyang appear out of thin air. Are you following me? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Brotherly, don't misunderstand, Zhang Xiaoyang quickly waved his hand. Qin Feiyang said, if you're not following me, then why are you here? Zhang Xiaoyang stammered. In the end, he gritted his teeth and looked at Qin Feiyang, saying, I'm not following you. I'm here specifically to find you. Why are you looking for me? Qin Feiyang said. Zhang Xiaoyang wanted to say something but hesitated, as if it was difficult for him to speak. Qin Feiyang said, my time is precious. If you have something to say, say it quickly. Zhang Xiaoyang knelt on the ground with a plop. Qin Feiyang was stunned and quickly went forward to help him, saying, "What are you doing? Get up." But Zhang Xiaoyang did not get up. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows, took 2 steps back, and said helplessly, "Tell me, what do you need me to do for you?" Zhang Xiaoyang stammered for a moment and shouted, "I want 2 more bottles of immortal wine." "Please help me, brotherly," Qin Feiyang said in surprise, "you're kneeling here just for 2 bottles of immortal wine? I know it's embarrassing to kneel and beg, but I really need the immortal wine. I can sell it to you in divine crystals." Zhang Xiaoyang lowered his head and said. Qin Feiyang looked at him silently and said, "Get up first. Don't tell me you won't get up if you don't give me the immortal wine. I won't buy it." Zhang Xiaoyang looked up at Qin Feiyang and finally stood up. Qin Feiyang asked suspiciously, "Why do you want the immortal wine so much?" Zhang Xiaoyang's body stiffened, and he lowered his head in silence. Qin Feiyang said, "Is there something you can't say?" "Yes." Zhang Xiaoyang nodded. "If you're willing to tell me, I may choose to help you. But if you don't, no matter how you beg me, I won't give it to you. Because first, I need to know what kind of person I'm helping. Is he worth my help?" Qin Feiyang said. Zhang Xiaoyang heard this, and his face was full of struggle. "Zhang Xiaoyang, I finally found you." But at this moment, an angry shout rang out. Zhang Xiaoyang hurriedly turned his head to look at the entrance of the alley, and his eyes suddenly trembled. Qin Feiyang also looked up and saw an old man in black standing at the entrance of the alley. His face was gloomy and terrifying. And behind the old man in black, there were 4 tall and strong guards. And whether it was the old man in black or the 4 guards, their cultivation was extremely strong. Judging from their aura, they were at least at the supreme god level. "That's pretty cool." The old man in black walked to Zhang Xiaoyang step by step with a sneer on his face. Looking at the old man in black, Zhang Xiaoyang's eyes were full of fear. Suddenly, the old man in black raised his hand and slapped Zhang Xiaoyang hard in the face, saying, "You're really audacious. The patriarch is waiting for you at home. Let's go." "Why are you waiting for me?" Zhang Xiaoyang touched his burning face and asked in a panic. The old man in black said, "Why do you need to ask this old man about what you did?" Zhang Xiaoyang's eyes trembled. "Take him down." The old man in black waved his hand. The 4 guards immediately rushed to Zhang Xiaoyang's side. Zhang Xiaoyang's face changed, hurriedly looked at Qin Feiyang, and cried, "Brotherly, save me." Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, looked at the old man in black, frowned and said, "The younger generation's matters should be solved by the younger generation. It's not right for you older generation to interfere." "What younger generation? What older generation? What are you talking about?" The old man in black was stunned. Qin Feiyang said, "Don't you want to avenge Zhang Xiaofeng?" "Avenge?" The old man in black looked at Qin Feiyang in a daze and said, "What did you say? You're crazy." Qin Feiyang was stunned. What was going on? "Wait. Who are you? Why are you the same as Zhang Xiaoyang? Are you his accomplice?" The old man in black looked at Qin Feiyang, his eyes flashing with a shocking cold light. "Accomplice?" Qin Feiyang became more and more depressed. What was going on? Buzz. Suddenly, a buzzing sound was heard. The old man in black took out the image crystal. A shadow appeared. It was a middle-aged man, about 1.75 meters tall, with a gloomy look between his eyebrows. "Patriarch." The old man in black bowed respectfully. The middle-aged man said, "Have you found that bastard?" "Yes. Right here." The old man in black turned the image crystal and pointed it at Zhang Xiaoyang. "Little bastard, you must have eaten a leopard's guts. The middle-aged man instantly roared. Zhang Xiaoyang's body trembled and his face turned pale. Suddenly, the middle-aged man saw Qin Feiyang behind Zhang Xiaoyang and asked, "You are Pai Lupi?" Qin Feiyang nodded. The middle-aged man said in a low voice, "I was wondering why you would help Zhang Xiaoyang in the Heaven Immortal Tower. It turns out that you guys were in cahoots." "Wait. Speak clearly. How am I in cahoots with him?" Qin Feiyang hurriedly said. "Patriarch, what happened in the Heaven Immortal Tower?" The old man in black also looked at the middle-aged man with suspicion. "You don't know?" the middle-aged man asked. The old man in black shook his head. The middle-aged man said, "Bring them back first." After saying that, the shadow dissipated. The old man in black frowned and looked at Qin Feiyang, saying, "Patriarch invites you. Let's go." Qin Feiyang frowned. Why did he feel that this matter wasn't so simple? Zhang Xiaoyang shook his head, "Brotherly, you can't go, pack." Without waiting for Zhang Xiaoyang to finish, the old man in black slapped Zhang Xiaoyang's face again. And this time, the strength was even greater. Zhang Xiaoyang was sent flying and smashed into the wall, coughing up blood. The old man in black no longer paid attention to Zhang Xiaoyang. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "I advise you to follow us obediently." Qin Feiyang glanced at Zhang Xiaoyang and then at the old man in black. "Who are you guys exactly?" Actually, he had already guessed a thing or two. He just wanted to confirm it. "I am the butler of the Zhang clan. The one from before is the patriarch of my Zhang clan," the old man in black said. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled, "All right, I will go back with you guys. I can also collect a debt." "Collect a debt? What debt?" The old man in black looked at him in puzzlement. Qin Feiyang asked in surprise, "Not long ago, such a huge thing happened in the Heaven Immortal Tower. You don't know anything about it?" "I didn't pay attention to it." The old man in black shook his head. Qin Feiyang said, "All right then, I won't say much. When we reach the Zhang clan, you will know." The old man in black glanced at Qin Feiyang. With a wave of his hand, a teleportation altar quickly opened. Qin Feiyang looked at the altar and said, "Your patriarch is not in Heaven Luo City right now?" "Yes," the old man in black said. Qin Feiyang was puzzled. "Then why did you open the altar?" "Humph. My Zhang clan can't afford to lose such an evil creature." The old man in black snorted and walked up the altar. One of the guards also grabbed Zhang Xiaoyang like a little chick and jumped up the altar. Qin Feiyang glanced at Zhang Xiaoyang and also stepped onto the altar. This Zhang Xiaoyang must have done something that angered the Zhang clan. Otherwise, the Zhang clan patriarch and the butler wouldn't hate him so much. Moreover, Zhang Xiaoyang wouldn't be so afraid. What could it be? The other three guards followed closely behind him. Their eyes were fixed on Qin Feiyang, as if they were afraid that Qin Feiyang would run away. Chapter 2292. The Zhang family. It was located in the southern part of Heaven Luo City. The mansion was extremely large and imposing. There were tens of thousands of people in the entire mansion. In the meeting hall of the Zhang family. At this moment, a middle-aged man was sitting majestically. Next to him was a young man in black, his eyes filled with resentment. This person was Zhang Xiaofan. Zhang Xiaofan looked at the Zhang family's patriarch and said, "Father, you must hand this Pai Lupi to me later. I want him to beg for death." "You still have the nerve to say that? Do you know that what you did in the Heaven Immortal Tower has disgraced our Zhang family?" The Zhang family's patriarch said angrily. "I don't want to either. Besides, isn't there still the Yun family? In terms of disgrace, the Yun family is more disgraced than us. Zhang Xiaofan lowered his head and said. That's true. The Zhang family's patriarch nodded. Swish. Before he finished speaking, 6 figures appeared in the hall. It was Qin Feiyang and the others. Zhang Xiaofan immediately stood up and stared at Qin Feiyang. He laughed and said, "Kid, you didn't expect to fall into my hands so quickly, right?" Qin Feiyang turned a deaf ear to him. He glanced at the meeting hall and looked directly at the Zhang family's patriarch. The Zhang family's patriarch was also sizing up Qin Feiyang, feeling a little incredulous. Such a seemingly weak young man actually mastered a killing technique that could wipe out the divine soul? Patriarch, the person is here. The old man in black walked to the Zhang family's patriarch and bowed. The Zhang family's patriarch nodded. His eyes fell on Zhang Xiaoyang, and the murderous intent in his eyes suddenly burst out. The guard who was holding Zhang Xiaoyang also threw Zhang Xiaoyang to the ground. Patriarch, Zhang Xiaoyang was extremely nervous, and his whole body was sweating. The Zhang family's patriarch slammed the table and shouted, "You really have guts. You actually dared to steal the divine crystal from the treasury." Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback and looked down at Zhang Xiaoyang. So that's what happened. He really didn't expect that this seemingly gentle and sunny young man would steal. Patriarch, I didn't, Zhang Xiaoyang shook his head. You still dare to quibble. I even went to the treasury last night. Everything was normal. However, when I went to the treasury this afternoon, I discovered that 100 billion divine crystals were missing. This really shocked me. I'll have the butler investigate this matter. When the butler asked the guards guarding the treasury, they said that they saw you near the treasury in the wee hours of this morning. Tell me, is this a coincidence? The patriarch of the Zhang family shouted. Zhang Xiaoyang said, Patriarch, I really didn't. If you don't believe me, you can search my interspatial ring. Zhang Xiaofan frowned. He turned and glanced at the Zhang clan lord. Father, back then when I was outside the Heaven Immortal Tower, I checked his interspatial ring. There should only be a few 100,000 divine crystals inside. Are you sure? The patriarch of the Zhang clan asked. Zhang Xiaofan nodded. The Zhang clan patriarch then looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, Do you have the 100 billion divine crystals with you? Me? Qin Feiyang was astonished. He smiled bitterly and said, Do you really think that I'm his accomplice? If you're not his accomplice, why did you help him in the Heaven Immortal Tower? And why did the two of you sneakily hide in that alley afterward? Zhang Xiaofan sneered. Qin Feiyang said indifferently, If you want to condemn someone, you can always find a pretext. Quibble. Zhang Xiaofan sneered. He looked at the 4 guards and said, Search him. The 4 guards immediately walked toward Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. It seemed that sometimes, good intentions might not be rewarded well. If he wanted to clear his name today, he could only start with Zhang Xiaofan. If Zhang Xiaofan really stole the 100 million divine crystals, where would he hide them? The 4 guards had already surrounded Qin Feiyang. Wait. Qin Feiyang stretched out his hand. The 4 frowned. Qin Feiyang looked at Zhang Xiaoyang and said, I helped you because I saw that your conduct was not bad. However, I didn't expect that you would actually do such a thing. If you still have the slightest bit of conscience, then please speak the truth. I really don't. Zhang Xiaofan shook his head. If you don't, then why were you so flustered when you saw the butler bringing people to find you? Don't treat me like a monkey. I have the ability to help you, and I also have the ability to kill you. Qin Feiyang said. It's true, I'm not lying to you, Zhang Xiaofan said anxiously. Okay. Then I'll see if you're lying to me or not. Qin Feiyang released his divine sense and poured it into Zhang Xiaofeng's body. Zhang Xiaofeng's expression became more and more flustered. The Zhang family's patriarch and the butler looked at each other and chose to watch coldly. Soon, Qin Feiyang's eyes had a trace of surprise. In Zhang Xiaofeng's qi, he found a jade box. The jade box was very ordinary. If it was placed in front of people, no one would take a second look at it. But why would Zhang Xiaofeng keep it in his qi? Qin Feiyang moved his mind and the jade box immediately appeared in his hand. Zhang Xiaofeng shouted, "Pai Lupi, don't open it." Qin Feiyang glanced at him and opened the jade box directly. An interspatial ring immediately appeared in his sight. The Zhang family's patriarch and others immediately stared at the interspatial ring. Qin Feiyang took out the interspatial ring, erased the blood contract inside and checked it carefully. It was full of divine gems. "You're lying to me." Qin Feiyang lowered his head and looked at Zhang Xiaofeng, who had collapsed on the ground. His eyes were full of disappointment, and then he threw the interspatial ring to the Zhang family's patriarch. After checking it, the Zhang family's patriarch was furious and shouted, "Zhang Xiaofeng, what else do you have to say now?" "I'm wrong, patriarch, I won't do it again. Please be merciful and let me go." Zhang Xiaofeng immediately knelt on the ground and begged. "I was wondering why you were so confident to go to the Heaven Immortal Tower to bid for the immortal wine. It turns out that you stole our divine gems." Zhang Xiaofeng stepped forward and kicked Zhang Xiaofeng. The Zhang family's patriarch said, "There's nothing to say to such a person. Steward, drag him out and feed him to the dogs." "Yes." The old man in black responded and stepped forward to grab Zhang Xiaofeng's hair and dragged him out. "Brotherly, I beg of you, please save me. I have my own difficulties, I don't want to die, and your Zhang family, you owe me this. Why are you doing this to me?" Zhang Xiaofeng roared hysterically. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Zhang Xiaofeng. What did he mean by that? The Zhang family's patriarch shouted, "Don't talk nonsense with him. Drag him out. You old bastard, I won't let you off even if I become a ghost." Zhang Xiaofeng roared in disbelief. "Then I'll make sure you don't even have the chance to become a ghost." The Zhang family's patriarch suddenly stood up, rushed in front of Zhang Xiaofeng, and slapped him in the head. "You killed my parents, and now you want to kill me? Aren't you afraid of being punished by the heavens?" Zhang Xiaofeng roared. The Zhang family's patriarch's eyes suddenly surged with a terrifying murderous intent, and the divine power in his palm surged. Swish! But at this moment, a black shadow appeared out of thin air, grabbed Zhang Xiaofeng, and disappeared without a trace. The Zhang family's patriarch was stunned and quickly released his divine sense. Qin Feiyang also immediately released his divine sense, but he didn't find anything. The Zhang family's patriarch was the same. He turned to stare at Qin Feiyang and said gloomily, "You have an accomplice?" "What? Are you still suspecting me?" Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. "Do you think you can wash away the suspicion by finding the universe ring? Who knows if this is a show that you're deliberately putting on?" The Zhang family's patriarch said. Qin Feiyang was shocked and said, "Are you an idiot? If I'm his accomplice, why would I give you such a large amount of wealth? It's useless to say more. Father, just cripple him." Zhang Xiaofeng sneered. The Zhang family's patriarch immediately turned around and attacked Qin Feiyang. "Are you sure you want to attack me?" Qin Feiyang frowned. The Zhang family's patriarch turned a deaf ear to him and sneered. "Fine. I hope you won't regret it." Qin Feiyang smiled sinisterly and disappeared without a trace in an instant. Gone again? The Zhang family's patriarch was stunned. He released his divine sense again, and this time, he caught a space divine object. Inside the castle, Qin Feiyang stood in the hall with a gloomy face. He didn't take out the hidden soul stone or the divine moon jade pendant, so it was normal that the Zhang family's patriarch could catch it. He didn't plan to hide it anymore. Hey, are you done drinking? If you're done, come out with me. Looking at Hua Yi, who was lying on the recliner and leisurely drinking the immortal wine, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but have a row of black lines on his forehead. Hua Yi said indifferently, "Isn't it just a perfect supreme god, you can't handle it?" Qin Feiyang's veins bulged. Okay. Hua Yi hurriedly waved his hand, reluctantly put down the wine pot, and asked, "Do you want to hide your identity?" "Hide it." Qin Feiyang nodded. Okay. Hua Yi took out an illusory form pill, threw it into his mouth, and turned into a white-haired old man. His cultivation base was also suppressed a lot. Outside, Zhang Xiaofan also released his divine sense, firmly locked onto the castle, and asked, "Father, what should we do? I don't believe that he can hide for a lifetime." The Zhang family's patriarch sneered. "What are you doing? Can't you let this old man have some peace and quiet?" Suddenly, a hoarse voice sounded. Immediately after, Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi appeared in the main hall. The Zhang family's patriarch and the others looked at Hua Yi in surprise. Hua Yi looked at the Zhang family's patriarch and the others, and said unhappily, "I say, why are you bullying my grandson?" "What the hell?" Qin Feiyang was stunned, turned his head to look at Hua Yi, and secretly said, "Bastard, you're still taking advantage of me?" Chapter 2293. Look at your current appearance, and then look at my current appearance. If I say that we're brothers, no one will believe it. Hua Yi secretly chuckled. Qin Feiyang said angrily, "Then there's no need to say that we're grandfather and grandson, right? Hey. Do you still want the 30 billion soul stones? If you want it, then shut up." Hua Yi transmitted his voice with a threatening tone. "You're good. This time, I admit defeat. There's still a long way to go. Let's wait and see." Qin Feiyang coldly snorted. "Hey." Hua Yi secretly laughed, looked at the Zhang family's patriarch and the others, and said, "This old man is asking you a question, why are you bullying my good grandson?" The words "good grandson" were dragged out for a long time. Looking at that arrogant look, Qin Feiyang really wanted to kick him. The butler walked in front of the Zhang family's patriarch, looked at Hua Yi vigilantly, and whispered, "Patriarch, this person's strength is unfathomable, be careful." The Zhang family's patriarch nodded and said, "Old man, you have to be reasonable. Your grandson, in cahoots with Zhang Xiaoyang, came to my Zhang family to steal." Wait. My good grandson is such a sensible child, how could he do such a thing? Kid, don't rely on the Zhang family's strength to bite people casually. Hua Yi said. The Zhang family's patriarch's face was full of anger. "Father, I think it's this old thing who planned this behind the scenes." Zhang Xiaofan said. "Impudent, you deserve to be slapped." Hua Yi stepped in front of Zhang Xiaofan and immediately slapped him. Puff! Zhang Xiaofan spat out a mouthful of blood, and his whole body flew out, hitting a stone pillar behind him. "Don't go too far. My Zhang family is not a place where you can behave atrociously." The Zhang family's patriarch said angrily. "Is that so? Then this old man will really try to behave atrociously." Hua Yi chuckled, took another step, landed in front of the Zhang family's patriarch, and slapped him in the face. The Zhang family's patriarch originally wanted to dodge, but he found that the other party's speed was too fast and he couldn't dodge at all. He immediately realized that the old man was most likely a cultivator in the Nine Heavens realm. Don't just focus on showing off. Let's see if Zhang Xiaoyang and the mysterious man are still here. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. Previously, he was unable to capture it because the other party had the soul-concealing stone. However, Hua Yi was different. With his half-step imperishable cultivation, the concealing soul stone was nothing in front of him. When Hua Yi heard this, he scowled and reprimanded, "Do I need you to teach me how to do things?" Qin Feiyang's face darkened. "I'm just joking. Don't take it seriously." Hua Yi quickly smiled apologetically and released his divine sense. Immediately, a hint of a smile crept into his eyes. A wave of divine power appeared and slashed toward the void on the left like a blade. With a clang, sparks burst out in the void. Following closely, 2 young men fell out of the void in a sorry state. One of them was Zhang Xiaoyang. The other person was a young man in black. He was about 1.8 meters tall and had a thin body. His eyes were extremely sharp. However, at this moment, the 2 of them looked at Hua Yi with a hint of panic on their faces. "I say, you 2 children, what can't you figure out that you want to stay here and watch the show? Look at it now, the spatial divine object is destroyed and our whereabouts are exposed." Hua Yi looked at Zhang Xiaoyang and said as if he was an old man. Their pupils shrank. At the same time, Qin Feiyang stared at the young man in black with a trace of surprise in his eyes. The aura that this person faintly exuded gave him an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Hua Yi waved his hand and a barrier appeared, enveloping the entire hall. With this barrier, no matter what happened here, the outside couldn't hear it. Immediately, Hua Yi walked to the chair on the side and sat on it. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, "Good grandson, you can deal with it yourself." Qin Feiyang secretly glared at him, then looked at the Zhang family patriarch and said, "I said, you will regret it." The Zhang family patriarch's face was ashen. Who would have thought that such an unremarkable young man would actually have such a terrifying grandfather? The butler's eyes flashed as he ran in front of Qin Feiyang and said with a flattering smile, "Young Masterly, this is all a misunderstanding." Halfway through his words, he suddenly took out a dagger and stabbed it towards Qin Feiyang's lower abdomen. A mere half-step supreme god dares to show off in front of this old man? Hua Yi laughed disdainfully. With a flick of his finger, a ray of divine power shot out and entered the steward's lower abdomen like lightning. Ah, blood suddenly appeared. The steward immediately hugged his lower abdomen and squatted on the ground, howling miserably. The dagger in his hand also fell to the ground with a clang. Qin Feiyang looked at the dagger, then lowered his head to look at the steward, a cold light flashing in his eyes. "I'm sorry." When the steward felt Qin Feiyang's gaze, he suddenly quivered and hurriedly knelt on the ground and cried out. Qin Feiyang ignored him and looked at the Zhang family patriarch with a smile. "Let's put Zhang Xiaoyang's matter aside for now. Let's settle the debt between us first." Looking at the smile on Qin Feiyang's face, the Zhang family patriarch couldn't help shuddering. Qin Feiyang said, "Your Zhang family originally owed me 30 billion divine crystals, right?" Preposterous. The Zhang family patriarch shouted coldly. "There's real evidence, how can you call it preposterous? Could it be that your son didn't give you the contract?" Qin Feiyang said. "Do you think I'll take this kind of childish trick seriously?" The Zhang family patriarch sneered. "You may not take it seriously, but I'm serious." Qin Feiyang found the contract and placed it in front of the Zhang family patriarch, saying, "Look, it's written clearly here, and this bloody handprint was personally left by your son. Do you still want to deny it? Don't go too far. Let me tell you, although your grandfather is strong, if you really make a big deal out of this, you'll be the only ones to suffer." The Zhang family patriarch shouted. "It seems like you really want to deny it. All right then. We'll do it one by one." Qin Feiyang chuckled and walked to the front of the steward, saying, "Want to kill me?" "No, no. I was confused just now." The steward hurriedly shook his head. "You don't even have the courage to admit it. What's the use of keeping you?" Qin Feiyang sighed, picked up the dagger on the ground, and directly plunged it into the steward's head. "Ah!" the steward screamed miserably. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and pulled out the dagger. A wave of blood immediately gushed out from the steward's head. Bang! Following that, the steward also fell to the ground, dead. This scene caused the 4 guards and Zhang Xiaofan to be extremely terrified. Zhang Xiaoyang and the mysterious black-clothed youth couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. Qin Feiyang looked at the Zhang family patriarch and asked with a smile, 50 billion soul stones, will you give it, 50 billion? The Zhang family patriarch was stunned and said angrily, didn't you say 30 billion just now? Why is it 50 billion now? It was originally 30 billion. But just now, you attacked me and scared me. Shouldn't I find you to compensate? So, the extra 20 billion is compensation for my mental trauma. Qin Feiyang laughed. You bastard! The Zhang family patriarch roared. No matter how much of a bastard I am, I'm not as much of a bastard as a son like you. Qin Feiyang chuckled and walked towards Zhang Xiaofan step by step. Don't come over, father, save me. Zhang Xiaofan was so scared that he hurriedly retreated. What are you doing? The Zhang family patriarch also panicked and roared, if you dare to kill him, I swear. Stop, stop. I'm not interested in listening to the nonsense of killing you or chasing you to the ends of the earth. I'm just asking you, will you give it to me? Qin Feiyang grabbed the dagger and stopped in front of Zhang Xiaofan. Looking at the dagger that was still dripping blood, Zhang Xiaofan was so scared that he collapsed to the ground, his face pale and trembling. The Zhang family patriarch looked at Zhang Xiaofan and then at Qin Feiyang, unable to make a decision. Looks like I'll have to help you decide. Qin Feiyang smiled, raised the dagger, and stabbed at Zhang Xiaofan's head. I'll give it to you, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you, okay? The Zhang family patriarch's expression changed as he cried out in despair. Qin Feiyang withdrew the dagger and looked at the Zhang family patriarch with a smile, you're quite tactful. You saved your son's life, and also saved your own life. The Zhang family patriarch was shocked and asked, you still want to kill me? If you don't give it to me, then I'll have to kill you and personally go to your Zhang family's treasury. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. You're a demon. The Zhang family patriarch's pupils shrank and he roared. No, 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 I'm a good person. Because, I didn't take it by force. I'm just taking back the soul stones you owe me. Otherwise, why would I say so much to you? I'll just slaughter your Zhang family and loot your treasury. Qin Feiyang laughed. Good person? The Zhang family patriarch was exhausted. How could there be such a shameless person in the world? If this was a good person, then there were no bad people in the world. Chapter 2294. Qin Feiyang chuckled and looked at the head of the Zhang family. Where is the soul stone? The treasure vault. The head of the Zhang family's eyes flickered slightly. Zhang Xiaoyang immediately said, it's not in the treasure vault. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Zhang Xiaoyang. Zhang Xiaoyang said, I've been to the treasure vault. There are only divine crystals, herbs, divine arts, and divine artifacts. There's not a single soul stone. Zhang Xiaoyang, the head of the Zhang family, glared at Zhang Xiaoyang. Originally, this was his stalling tactic, but he didn't expect Zhang Xiaoyang to expose him. Qin Feiyang turned to look at the head of the Zhang family, his eyes flashing coldly, I don't like people playing tricks in front of me. The head of the Zhang family's eyes trembled. Qin Feiyang slowly walked to Zhang Xiaofang's side, put his hand on Zhang Xiaofeng's shoulder, and said with a smile, "You should know where the soul stone is, right?" I know. Zhang Xiaofeng nodded repeatedly. Okay. Please go and get it for me. Remember. 50 billion soul stones, not one less. Qin Feiyang smiled. Okay. Zhang Xiaofeng nodded repeatedly, then ran to the door of the main hall. Don't rush. Qin Feiyang said. Zhang Xiaofeng's body suddenly stiffened, and he turned to look at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang formed a seal with both hands. Buzz! A seal quickly appeared. It was the seal of slavery. The black-clothed young man standing next to Zhang Xiaoyang narrowed his eyes slightly when he saw the seal of slavery. What is this? Zhang Xiaofeng was surprised. What are you doing? The head of the Zhang family also said angrily. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the seal of slavery immediately turned into a stream of light and disappeared into the top of Zhang Xiaofeng's head. Ah! Zhang Xiaofeng immediately held his head and lay on the ground, howling miserably. The head of the Zhang family ran to Zhang Xiaofeng's side, his face was full of anxiety, and shouted at Qin Feiyang, "What did you do to him?" Qin Feiyang turned a deaf ear. After a while, Zhang Xiaofeng stopped howling, and his eyes were filled with confusion. What's going on? It didn't seem to have caused any harm to him. The head of the Zhang family asked with concern, "Feng, are you all right?" "I'm fine." Zhang Xiaofeng shook his head and stood up from the ground. His eyes were filled with doubt. What did this person do to him? Qin Feiyang walked over to the table and sat down beside Hua Yi. He looked at Zhang Xiaofeng and waved his hand, smiling as he said, "Go, I'll wait for you here." "All right." Zhang Xiaofeng nodded and looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Then, he turned around and ran towards the door. Hua Yi waved his hand, and a crack immediately appeared in the barrier he had set up earlier. "Feng, notify the Yun family." Just as Zhang Xiaofeng walked out of the barrier, the Zhang family's patriarch shouted. "Yun family!" Zhang Xiaofeng's eyes flashed, and he ran out without looking back. The crack in the barrier was also repaired. Qin Feiyang leaned back in his chair and looked at the Zhang clan head with a hint of mockery in his eyes. "What is it?" Hua Yi noticed his expression and asked secretly. Qin Feiyang said, "The Zhang clan's patriarch asked Zhang Xiaofeng to notify the Yun family." "How do you know?" Hua Yi was stunned. Enslavement seal. This technique can peek into the other party's inner thoughts. Qin Feiyang said secretly. In other words, this Zhang clan wants to borrow the Yun family's hand to get rid of us? Hua Yi asked secretly. Qin Feiyang responded. Still not honest. I'll destroy him now. Hua Yi snorted coldly. Qin Feiyang laughed secretly. Don't worry. Wait for the Yun family's people to come first. Hua Yi was stunned. He looked at Qin Feiyang strangely and asked, "This can't be what you want, right? Since it's to collect the debt, then I'll collect it all at once, so as to avoid the trouble of running back and forth." Qin Feiyang said. "I think you want to extort the Yun family like how you extort the Zhang clan." Hua Yi said secretly. If the Zhang clan can take out 50 billion soul stones, then it won't be difficult for the Yun family, who is stronger than the Zhang clan, to take out 100 billion soul stones. Qin Feiyang laughed secretly. Sure enough. You're really a bastard. Hua Yi secretly despised him. According to the contract, the Yun family only needed to pay 60 billion. But now, Qin Feiyang had changed the script in advance and asked for 100 billion. When he thought of the Yun family's fate, he couldn't help but sympathize. Half each. Hua Yi said secretly. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. It really didn't matter about this. Last time, Shangguan Fenglan came to him to ask for the 10 fifth-level soul veins and promised to give him 10 billion soul stones. At that time, Hua Yi also said that they would split the 10 billion soul stones. But now, the 10 billion soul stones were still in his hands. Hua Yi didn't ask him for it. In fact, he was just saying it. How do you plan to deal with these two? Hua Yi glanced at Zhang Xiaoyang and the black-clothed young man. Qin Feiyang glanced at Zhang Xiaoyang and then locked his eyes on the black-clothed young man. This person's cultivation was a low-level divine lord. The aura he exuded really gave him a familiar feeling. However, this familiar feeling was also a little strange. In his memory, there was no information about this person. What was going on? At the same time, Zhang Xiaoyang and the black-clothed young man were also exchanging glances. Obviously. Were they also muttering something secretly? He even dared to steal. I guess he's not a good person. Let's just kill him. Hua Yi transmitted his voice. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. Suddenly, he looked at the black-clothed young man and asked, "Who are you?" The black-clothed young man immediately looked at Qin Feiyang. There was a trace of fear in his eyes. But this fear was different from the fear of the Zhang family head and the 4 guards. The Zhang family head and the 4 guards were afraid of Hua Yi. But this black-clothed young man was afraid of Qin Feiyang himself. This made Qin Feiyang even more confused. It was as if this person knew that he was Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang's eyes were slightly cold. He said, "I don't want to ask a second time. Brotherly, please calm down. He's a friend of mine. He helped me because he wanted to help me take revenge." Zhang Xiaoyang hurriedly said. "Revenge?" Qin Feiyang frowned. "Yes. Don't you want to know why I want the celestial immortal wine? I'll tell you now. Do you still remember the 2 people I told you about in the Heaven Immortal Tower, Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi?" Zhang Xiaoyang said. Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi looked at each other. What was going on? How did it have anything to do with them? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, "They're the 2 people who killed the city lord and his wife." Yes. Hua Yi is a half-step invincible realm expert. He's extremely powerful. I want the celestial immortal wine to give it to him. Zhang Xiaoyang said. Hua Yi was stunned. Was this a joke? He didn't know this person at all. Why did he give him the celestial immortal wine? Qin Feiyang asked calmly, "Do you know Hua Yi?" "No. But I know him. He's a very good wine drinker. If I go to him with 2 pots of the celestial immortal wine, I think he should help me." Zhang Xiaoyang said. "Help you with what?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Zhang Xiaoyang's face suddenly became incomparably ferocious and full of resentment. He said, "Help me kill the patriarch of the Zhang family and Su Mo." What? Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi were shocked. Not only did he want to kill the patriarch of the Zhang family, but he also wanted to kill Su Mo? This was too shocking. The patriarch of the Zhang family was just a small character, but Su Mo was the Grand Elder of Heaven Cloud Mountain. In East Tomb, he had an unshakable status and power. He actually wanted to kill him? He was crazy. They deserved to die. Because they killed my parents. Zhang Xiaoyang roared with resentment. Huh? Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi looked at each other. There really was another story. Little bastard, don't talk nonsense. Your parents were killed by the sea beasts of the Tianluo Sea. The patriarch of the Zhang family shouted at this time. I'm talking nonsense? Yes. When I first heard the news of their death, I also thought that they died under the claws of the sea beasts. But one night half a year ago, he came to me. Zhang Xiaoyang pointed to the black-clothed young man next to him and said, he told me that the truth of the matter was not like that. The patriarch of the Zhang family stared at the black-clothed young man and said in a deep voice, "Who are you?" "Not important." The black-clothed young man said coldly and looked at Zhang Xiaoyang. "Continue." "He told me that Su Mo ordered you to kill my parents and frame the sea beasts of the Tianluo Sea. But at first, I was too sick to believe him. Because at that time, it was the first time I met him. It was impossible for me to believe a stranger. But later, he took me and hid in the space divine item, monitoring you day and night. Just a few days ago, I heard you talking to the butler." Zhang Xiaoyang said. The patriarch of the Zhang family's expression stiffened. Hua Yi glanced at the three and said, "Zhang Xiaoyang, can you tell me why Su Mo killed your parents?" "Because a year ago, my parents saw something they shouldn't have seen in the Tianluo Sea. So Su Mo wanted to silence them." Zhang Xiaoyang said. "So serious?" Hua Yi was stunned and asked curiously, "What happened?" "A year ago, Su Mo and his sister killed Ouyang Wenyi in the Tianluo Sea." Zhang Xiaoyang said word by word. "Ouyang Wenyi?" Hua Yi was stunned. Why did this name sound familiar? Wait. Wasn't this the demon ancestor that Qin Feiyang was looking for? Hua Yi turned his head to look at Qin Feiyang, only to see that Qin Feiyang's face was also full of surprise. "At that time, when they killed Ouyang Wenyi, my parents happened to be nearby and witnessed the scene with their own eyes. But at that time, they didn't find my parents. After my parents came back, they didn't dare to say anything and only told the patriarch about it. But in the end, the patriarch of our Zhang family actually told Su Mo and his sister about it in order to curry favor with them. I don't need to say what happened later, you should be able to guess it. In order to silence them, Su Mo asked the patriarch to secretly kill my parents and throw their bodies into the Tianluo Sea. Until now, I still haven't found their bodies. I'm afraid that they have already been cut into pieces by the sea beasts of the Tianluo Sea." After Zhang Xiaoyang finished speaking, he closed his eyes in pain. "So that's how it is." Hua Yi muttered, looking at the patriarch of the Zhang family and said, "They are members of your Zhang family, and it was because they trusted you that they told you these things. You actually betrayed them. Where is your conscience?" "I did it for the good of the Zhang family. As long as we have a relationship with Su Mo, the rise of my Zhang family is just around the corner." The patriarch of the Zhang family coldly snorted. "Really stubborn." Hua Yi shook his head. Chapter 2295. Stubborn? The Zhang family patriarch raised his eyebrows and sneered, "Don't act so high and mighty. Do you dare to say that you have never done such a thing when you were young?" "When I was young?" Hua Yi was slightly taken aback, and quickly said, "Wait, am I very old? You even have a grandson, and you still think you're young? Do you want to look in the mirror?" The Zhang family patriarch looked down on him. "Ugh!" Hua Yi was stunned, and then revealed a wry smile. His current appearance was indeed old. Suddenly, he turned to look at Qin Feiyang and chuckled, "Good grandson, why aren't you saying anything?" Qin Feiyang's face immediately darkened. Hua Yi acted as if he didn't see it at all, and laughed, "Grandfather, I'm a little tired, you can deal with it yourself." After saying that, he closed his eyes. Qin Feiyang secretly glared at him, then raised his head to look at Zhang Xiaoyang and asked, "Why did the Su siblings want to kill Ouyang Wenyi?" "And you?" Qin Feiyang looked at the black-clothed youth again, and said, "What is your relationship with Ouyang Wenyi?" "We just met by chance." The black-clothed youth said. "You told Zhang Xiaoyang the truth and risked your life with Zhang Xiaoyang just because you met by chance. Are you stupid, or do you think I'm stupid?" Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a cold light. The black-clothed youth's pupils shrank slightly, and he nodded, "All right, I admit, I have some friendship with Ouyang Wenyi. Just some friendship? Qin Feiyang said. You're really not easy to fool. Alright, I'll say it. He once saved my life, so I want to repay his kindness. The black-clothed youth said. Qin Feiyang asked, so, you also saw the Su siblings kill him in the sky Luo Sea? Yes. The black-clothed youth nodded. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered, and said, then tell me, why did they kill Ouyang Wenyi? Because of a heaven-defying artifact. The black-clothed youth said. Qin Feiyang's eyes narrowed. He even knew about the heaven-defying artifact? Ouyang Wenyi has a heaven-defying divine artifact. Once, Brother Ouyang sent me a message, saying that we would go to the Tianluo Sea to gain experience together. Although the Sky-Net Sea is very dangerous, but because he saved my life, I agreed to it at that time. The two of us joined hands and entered the heavenly Net Sea. Everything went smoothly at first. But as we went deeper and deeper, we accidentally barged into the lair of a beast emperor and were surrounded by sea beasts. That beast emperor is a paragon god. Brother Ouyang and I are only divine lords. We are naturally not its match. At the critical moment of life and death, Brother Ouyang took out a heaven-defying divine weapon. It was only then that I found out he had a heaven-defying divine artifact. Later, we safely escaped and returned to Heaven Cloud Mountain. But for some reason, Su Mo and his sister found out about this. Just a year ago, Brother Ouyang and I went to the Tianluo Sea to train again. When we went deep into the sea, Su Mo and his sister came out and demanded Brother Ouyang to hand over the divine weapon. The black-clothed young man said. Back to Heaven Cloud Mountain? Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked, you are a disciple of Heaven Cloud Mountain? Yes. The black-clothed young man nodded. Like you said, Ouyang Wenyi has a heaven-defying divine weapon. Even if Su Mo and his sister attacked him personally, they wouldn't be able to kill him, right? After all, Su Mo is only at the peak of the Nine Heavens realm. Qin Feiyang frowned. Only at the peak of the Nine Heavens realm? How arrogant. The Zhang clan lord suddenly sneered. Qin Feiyang ignored him and looked at the black-clothed young man, waiting for him to continue. If it's just Su Mo and his sister, they won't be able to kill Brother Ouyang. But Su Mo has been preparing for a long time to steal Brother Ouyang's divine weapon. And before he left, he went to the Peak Lord and borrowed the only heaven-defying divine weapon of Heaven Cloud Mountain. The black-clothed young man said. What? Heaven Cloud Mountain also has a heaven-defying divine weapon? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Yes. The black-clothed young man nodded. Qin Feiyang was in disbelief. Even Heaven Cloud Mountain had one? Wasn't this heaven-defying divine weapon everywhere? Don't make a fuss like a country bumpkin. Whether it's Heaven Cloud Mountain or Nine Heavens Palace, they both have a heaven-defying divine weapon. Otherwise, how could the Palace Lord of Nine Heavens Palace have the courage to fight against the dragons for your ancestor? But she didn't expect the dragons to be so strong. Even if she had a heaven-defying divine weapon, it was useless. Hua Yi said telepathically. How do you know so much? Qin Feiyang joked. Nonsense. I'm at least a half-step invincible realm cultivator. Hua Yi thought. Okay. Let's see how long you can keep pretending. Qin Feiyang sneered and looked at the black-clothed young man. Continue. When two heaven-defying divine weapons fought, they almost destroyed each other in the end. And because of this heaven-defying divine weapon of Heaven Cloud Mountain, Brother Ouyang died in Tianluo Sea. The black-clothed young man sighed. Qin Feiyang asked, then how did you escape? Before the battle, Brother Ouyang told me to escape. Su Mo and his sister also wanted to kill me, but Brother Ouyang fought with his life, so I was lucky to escape. After escaping, I didn't dare to return to Nine Heavens Palace, so I disguised myself and hid in Tianluo City, looking for a chance to avenge Brother Ouyang. The black-clothed young man said. Qin Feiyang asked, what about Ouyang when he's heaven-defying divine weapon? The black-clothed young man said with hatred, do you still need to think about it? Brother Ouyang was killed, so the divine weapon must be in Su Mo's hands. Qin Feiyang lowered his head, his eyes flashing. Duh. At this time, accompanied by hurried footsteps, Zhang Xiaofan hurriedly ran into the main hall. Hua Yi waved his hand and the barrier cracked again. Zhang Xiaofan entered the barrier and ran to the side of the Zhang family patriarch. Did you inform the Yun family? The Zhang family patriarch secretly asked. Yes. And young Master Yun told me that he was going to ask the old patriarch of the Yun family to come out of seclusion. Zhang Xiaofan sent a sound transmission. Old patriarch of the Yun family. The Zhang family patriarch's spirit shook as he secretly laughed. I heard that this old patriarch of the Yun family had already stepped into the half-step ninth heaven realm 1,000 years ago. With him personally coming out, then these two people, as he said this, the Zhang family patriarch's eyes couldn't help but emit a cold light. Zhang Xiaofan also sneered in his heart. He looked at Hua Yi who was sitting on the chair and secretly said, Father, can you determine this old thing's cultivation? Yes. He's also a half-step ninth heaven realm. The Zhang family patriarch secretly said. If two half-step nine heavens realm cultivators were to fight, it would definitely be a situation where neither side wins. At that time, we can reap the benefits. Zhang Xiaofang's eyes lit up as he sent a sound transmission. That's right. The reason why the four great families are able to dominate Heaven Luo City is because they all have a half-step ninth heaven realm in their families. And if the old patriarch of the Yun family dies here today, then the Yun family will plummet, and my Zhang family will naturally have the chance to rise again. The Zhang family patriarch secretly sneered. I was wondering why father wanted me to inform the Yun family. So it was because of this plan. Zhang Xiaofan suddenly understood. The Zhang family patriarch laughed complacently, and secretly said, Man proposes, God disposes. Sooner or later, you will be the head of the family, learn more. All right. Zhang Xiaofan replied. I say, the two of you have been exchanging glances since you came in. What are you doing? Qin Feiyang looked at the father and son and frowned. Actually. Did he know what the father and son were muttering about? He just didn't say it out loud. Nothing. The father and son hurriedly waved their hands. Qin Feiyang smiled playfully and asked, Where are the spirit stones? Father, our Zhang family only has a total of 50 billion spirit stones. Are we really going to give it to him? Zhang Xiaofang's expression froze, and hurriedly transmitted his voice. It's okay, give it to him. It's just for the time being. The Zhang family patriarch said indifferently, full of confidence. That's true. Zhang Xiaofan muttered. In any case, this person and the old patriarch of the Yun family would both be injured. When the two of them were killed, the spirit stones would naturally return to their hands. Then, Zhang Xiaofan took out 5 universe rings and threw them to Qin Feiyang, and coldly snorted, 50 billion, not a single one. Count carefully, don't say that I lied to you. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, sent the universe rings to the ancient castle, and secretly said, Fire Lotus, count them. Okay. Fire Lotus responded, and released her spirit sense to count. The Zhang family patriarch said in a deep voice, The spirit stones have been given to you, can you get out of my Zhang family now? Father, what are you doing? If he leaves, won't our plan fail? Zhang Xiaofan was stunned, and hurriedly asked. You don't understand. If I don't say that, he will really leave once the spirit stones are in his hands. The Zhang family patriarch transmitted his voice. Zhang Xiaofan pondered carefully, and suddenly said, "So that's how it is, you are deliberately provoking him." "That's right. If I provoke him, he will naturally not leave." The Zhang family patriarch secretly said. "Father is really wise." Zhang Xiaofan said in admiration. "What do you think? To manage such a large family, how can one not have a brain?" The Zhang family patriarch said proudly. "Yes, yes, yes. This child will definitely follow father's example and learn well." Zhang Xiaofan secretly laughed. However, the father and son did not notice that the ridicule in Qin Feiyang's eyes became even stronger. Wisdom? Brain? Example? Why was it so funny? Because he had been secretly peeping at Zhang Xiaofeng's inner thoughts, he knew exactly what the two of them were muttering. However, he still did not expose them. Let the father and son be happy for a while. Chapter 2296. What are you still sitting there for? Didn't you hear me? I told you to leave. Could it be that you want me to treat you to a drink? Seeing Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi sitting at the table, the patriarch of the Zhang family couldn't help but scold them angrily. Drink? Hua Yi suddenly opened his eyes and said with a smile, "That's a good idea, your Zhang family must have prepared some celestial immortal wine, right? This time." On the contrary, the patriarch of the Zhang family was caught off guard. But soon after, he couldn't help but sneer in his heart. Celestial immortal wine? I'm afraid you don't have the life to drink it. You're not leaving? Fine. Anyway, my Zhang family has plenty of space. You can stay as long as you want. As for the celestial immortal wine, we really don't have it. The patriarch of the Zhang family snorted and returned to the main seat, closing his eyes to rest. Zhang Xiaofeng stood behind the patriarch of the Zhang family, looking at Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi. The expression on his face was very angry, but he was also sneering in his heart. Qin Feiyang looked at the father and son, his eyes flashing with ridicule, then looked at Zhang Xiaoyang and the black-clothed youth, then lowered his head and muttered to himself. Zhang Xiaoyang glanced at Qin Feiyang and Zhang Xiaofeng and his son, and asked suspiciously, "What are they doing?" The black-clothed youth secretly said, "This matter is definitely not over yet, they are all having their own ulterior motives." Zhang Xiaoyang nodded in realization. Time passed by. Hua Yi suddenly asked, "Good grandson, what are you thinking about?" Qin Feiyang was taken aback, and said angrily, "You're really calling me that?" He he. Hua Yi secretly laughed, and said, "Actually, you're not at a disadvantage, because according to seniority in age, it's only right for you to call me grandfather. If you say any more, I'll turn hostile." Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Okay, I won't say any more," Hua Yi quickly said. Qin Feiyang stared at him, and secretly said, "Have you ever thought of a problem?" "What problem?" Hua Yi was suspicious. "When we entered the Eastern Tomb, we first met the city lord Coupleant's enmity with Su Mo. Next, Zhang Xiaoyang appeared again, which led to a series of problems. Originally, I thought that the appearance of these people had nothing to do with our purpose in coming to the Eastern Tomb. They were like passers-by that we met on our journey. But in the end, the Su siblings are related to the fiend ancestor. The Zhang family is also related to the fiend ancestor. Say, how did these seemingly unrelated people end up together in the end?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. "This is fate." Hua Yi laughed. "Fate? Why do I feel like there's an invisible string that's pulling us along?" Qin Feiyang said. Hua Yi said, "Fate is just this wondrous. I'm playing the lute to a cow." Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. "I know that you are very unhappy that I pretended to be your grandfather, but you can't scold me in a roundabout way, right?" Hua Yi was displeased. Cut the crap. Do you think that everything we encountered in the Eastern Tomb was secretly manipulated by someone? Qin Feiyang thought. You're thinking too much. Even we can't predict what we encountered in the Eastern Tomb. Unless it's the god of creation, who else would have such great ability? You only know how to think nonsense all day long. Aren't you tired of living? Hua Yi said. That's true. Qin Feiyang muttered. He didn't believe that all of this was secretly manipulated by someone. At the end of the day, this was the cause and effect. Boom! It was also at this moment. A terrifying aura descended outside the main hall. It's here. The Zhang family head and Zhang Xiaofan were shocked and quickly looked outside the door. They saw an old man with a ruddy face and white hair standing outside the door. The old man was about 1.78 meters tall and wore a black robe. His hands were behind his back, his body was strong and his face was incomparably cold. Who is he? His aura is so strong. Zhang Xiaoyang also looked at the old man in shock. Don't you know him? The black-clothed youth thought. I don't know. Zhang Xiaoyang shook his head. Hua Yi opened his eyes and looked at the old man, thinking, is it him? Yes. Old patriarch of the Yun family. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. He's indeed a half-step ninth heaven realm. Hua Yi muttered. A mere half-step ninth heaven realm, for you, isn't it as simple as swatting a fly? Qin Feiyang laughed secretly. Hua Yi was slightly stunned, and said with a sneaky smile, are you trying to curry favor with me? Yes. If I don't curry favor with you, what if you leave me alone? Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him. Hua Yi frowned and said, why do I feel that your words are a bit harsh? Are you done? Hurry up and let him in. Qin Feiyang said. Hua Yi waved his hand, and the barrier immediately cracked. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, old senior, come in. Old Patriarch Yun glanced at Qin Feiyang and stepped into the barrier. He then looked at Zhang Xiaoyang and then looked at Hua Yi. Don't look, don't look. This old man's cultivation is the same as yours, half-step ninth heaven realm. Hua Yi said. Old Patriarch Yun's eyes flashed coldly as he pointed at Qin Feiyang and asked, you're his grandfather? Yes. Hua Yi nodded, answering very naturally and straightforwardly. Grandson, outside the Heaven Immortal Tower, you killed over 50 of my Yun family's guards and humiliated my Yun family's direct descendant in public. You even wanted to extort my Yun family's soul stones. How do you think we should settle this debt? Old Patriarch Yun said. Hua Yi said, tell me, how do you want to settle this? Very simple. Immediately go to the central square and kneel in public. Apologize to my Yun family and this debt will be considered settled. Old Patriarch Yun said. You're really not polite. This old man's good grandson, even this old man can't bear to make him kneel. You actually want him to kneel in public and apologize to your Yun family? Aren't you looking down on this old man too much? Hua Yi frowned. Old Patriarch Yun's gaze turned cold as he said, so you're saying that you refuse? Look, you're the same as this old man. You're already so old, why are you still so unreasonable? Everyone knows what happened in the Heaven Immortal Tower. Now you're here to settle the debt with my good grandson? Do you think your actions are befitting of your status? Hua Yi said indifferently. This old man isn't here to reason with you. Old Patriarch Yun's body trembled as he suddenly released his aura and pounced towards Hua Yi. Then you're saying that you're here to find trouble? Hua Yi also stood up. With a wave of his hand, the aura of old Patriarch Yun instantly disappeared without leaving any traces as if it had never appeared. What? Old Patriarch Yun's expression changed, filled with disbelief. With a wave of his hand, he disintegrated his aura. Was this something a half-step ninth heaven realm cultivator could do? Qin Feiyang coughed dryly and quickly looked at Hua Yi with a smile. Don't be angry, don't be angry. Sit down first. Humph. If it wasn't for my good grandson, this old man would kill you right now. Hua Yi looked at old Patriarch Yun and coldly snorted before returning to his seat. Old Patriarch Yun was extremely shocked. Was this person's cultivation really the same as his, half-step ninth heaven realm? Old Patriarch Yun, right? Qin Feiyang turned to look at old Patriarch Yun and smiled. That's me. The old family head of the Yun family turned his gaze and looked at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang said, actually, I've been waiting for you. Waiting for me? Old Patriarch Yun was stunned as he turned to look at the Zhang father and son. The Zhang father and son were a little flustered. Don't look at them. They didn't tell me that you were coming to find me. Qin Feiyang said. Then, how did you know? Old Patriarch Zhang asked in surprise. Old Patriarch Yun and Zhang Xiaofan also looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Qin Feiyang looked at the Zhang father and son and said with a smile, do you still remember the mark that I evolved before? The two nodded. That mark is called the enslavement mark. It can control the soul of a living being and peek into their inner thoughts. Qin Feiyang said. What? Control the soul. Peek into their inner thoughts. The father and son were extremely shocked. If that was the case, didn't that mean the other party already knew their thoughts? Yes. I knew what you wanted to do from the beginning. Qin Feiyang laughed in ridicule. He turned his head to look at the Yun family's old patriarch and said, Old Patriarch, are you interested in hearing it? Speak. Old Patriarch Yun said. You are a half-step to the ninth heaven realm, and I, cough cough. Grandfather, is also a half-step to the ninth heaven realm. If the two of you fight, it will be a situation where both of you suffer. At that time, when you and my grandfather both suffer, the Zhang family will be able to reap the benefits. This is Patriarch Zhang's plan. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Hearing this, old Patriarch Yun immediately looked at Patriarch Zhang and said angrily, How dare you scheme against my Yun family? You are courting death. Patriarch Zhang hurriedly said, Old Patriarch, don't listen to his nonsense. He is sowing discord, do you understand? Yes, yes, yes. We never thought of that at all. I swear to God, don't be deceived by him. Zhang Xiaofan also said. The father and son were extremely shocked. He actually knew what they were thinking. However, even if Qin Feiyang said it, they weren't too nervous. Because this was only Qin Feiyang's side of the story, and there was no evidence. Besides, Qin Feiyang had also provoked the Yun family. Even if old Patriarch Yun believed it, he would still make a move on Qin Feiyang first. As expected. After looking at the Zhang father and son for a while, old Patriarch Yun's gaze suddenly swept towards Qin Feiyang, and said, You want to deceive this old man with such a small trick? Qin Feiyang was startled, and said helplessly, All right, it's fine if you don't believe me. The result is the same anyway. Did you bring the soul stone? What? You really dare to ask this old man for the soul stone? Old Patriarch Yun was stunned. Old Patriarch, did you see that? He is so arrogant, he completely doesn't put your Yun family in his eyes. The patriarch of the Zhang family naturally wouldn't let go of this good opportunity to add fuel to the fire, and shouted angrily. Old Patriarch Yun smiled coldly and looked at Qin Feiyang, his eyes full of contempt, and said, I don't have the soul stone, but I do have a life. If you have the ability, come and take it. So, your Yun family also intends to renege on the debt? Qin Feiyang laughed. So what? Old Patriarch Yun's face was full of provocation. So what? Qin Feiyang murmured, looking at old Patriarch Yun, his eyes flashing. Seeing this, Zhang father and son looked at each other and immediately retreated to the side, waiting to watch the show. What should we do? Zhang Xiaoyang asked secretly. Wait and see. The black-clothed youth transmitted. The two also quietly retreated to the edge of the barrier. Chapter 2297. Inside the hall, it was filled with an atmosphere of mutual hostility. Qin Feiyang suddenly turned around and returned to his seat. He looked at the Yun family's old patriarch and said, "I don't like people like you who go back on their words." The Yun family's old patriarch said, "This old man also doesn't like arrogant young people like you." "I'm arrogant?" Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Compared to your Yun family's young master, should be considered low-key. My Yun family has the capital." The Yun family's old patriarch said. Qin Feiyang said, "So, you're not ashamed, but proud?" Sometimes, being high-profile also requires capital. The Yun family's old patriarch sneered. "All right, I admit defeat. I can't compare to your mentality of thinking that you're superior. Yes, I'm just an ordinary person. But ordinary people don't necessarily have no capital." Qin Feiyang leaned on his seat, his eyes full of disdain. Provoking this old man again and again, "Are you really not afraid of death?" The Yun family's old patriarch's eyes sank, and his aura surged again. Hua Yi opened his eyes and raised his eyebrows. Hey, don't make a move. The one who doesn't make a move is better you. Do you know the relationship between my Yun family and Heavenly Cloud Mountain? The Yun family's old patriarch said. You have a relationship with Heavenly Cloud Mountain? Hua Yi was surprised and asked curiously, "Tell me, what relationship?" "My big brother, and he's my blood brother, the law enforcement elder of Heavenly Cloud Mountain. And he might soon become the hall master of Heavenly Cloud Mountain's law enforcement hall. You dare to provoke my Yun family?" The Yun family's old patriarch shouted. Heavenly Cloud Mountain's law enforcement elder? Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi looked at each other. Are you afraid? The Yun family's old patriarch sneered. Afraid? No, you should thank us. Hua Yi waved his hand. Thank you. The Yun family's old patriarch raised his eyebrows. Yes, if we didn't kill Su Mo's sister, would your big brother have the chance to become the law enforcement hall master? Do you think you should sense us? Hua Yi joked. You killed Su Mo's sister? The old patriarch of the Yun family was stunned. The Zhang clan head, Zhang Xiaofan, and Zhang Xiaoyang were also dumbfounded. Only the black-clothed young man didn't seem surprised at all. Qin Feiyang also frowned and said, If you say that, won't you expose our identities? Anyway, the demon ancestor's death has already been confirmed. What does it matter? Hua Yi thought. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He thought for a moment and nodded. That's true. Wait. Are you guys talking in your sleep? The law enforcement hall master was clearly killed by Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi. How did it become you two? Old Patriarch Yun said. Hua Yi said, Why are you so stupid? I'm stupid? The old patriarch of the Yun family was about to fly into a rage when he suddenly thought of something. His eyes flashed as he stared at the two of them and said, Could it be that you two? Hua Yi took out 2 facial restoration pills and tossed one to Qin Feiyang while he swallowed the other. Very soon, the two of them regained their true appearances. It's you. Immediately, the old patriarch of the Yun family, the Zhang father and son, and Zhang Xiaoyang's expression changed. They never would have thought that the two in front of them were actually Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi. Hua Yi said playfully, Now tell me, shouldn't you be grateful to us? Yes. The old patriarch of the Yun family nodded repeatedly. The person in front of him was a half-step Undying Realm expert. How did he provoke these two fierce people? The Zhang father and son were also completely panicking, and their hearts were filled with regret. Qin Feiyang asked again, "Did you bring the soul stones?" "No. But I can go back and get them immediately," the old patriarch of the Yun family said. Qin Feiyang said, "There's no need for that. Send a message to the patriarch of the Yun family and tell him to send someone over immediately. Remember, it's 100 billion soul stones, not a word less. 100 billion? The old patriarch of the Yun family was stunned and hurriedly said, "Isn't it 60 billion? You came here aggressively to find trouble and scared me. Aren't you going to compensate me?" Qin Feiyang said. "Yes, yes, yes." The old patriarch of the Yun family nodded repeatedly, and then said with difficulty, "But 100 billion soul stones is too much. The Zhang family can take out 50 billion, your Yun family can't even take out 100 billion? If you dare say you can't take it out, then we'll personally go to your Yun family's treasury and see if it's true or not," Qin Feiyang said. "We can take it out, we can take it out," the old patriarch of the Yun family hurriedly nodded. "Go to the treasury?" If these two really went to the treasury, then it wouldn't be as simple as losing 100 billion soul stones. Perhaps the entire Yun family's wealth would be robbed by these two. Qin Feiyang said impatiently, "If you can take it out, then don't bother." "Yes, yes, yes." The old patriarch of the Yun family nodded and took out the image crystal. Qin Feiyang said, "Don't face us." "Understood, understood." The old patriarch of the Yun family smiled flatteringly and activated the image crystal. Buzz. Not long after, a middle-aged man appeared. As soon as he saw the old patriarch of the Yun family, the middle-aged man hurriedly said, "Father, how is it?" "Don't ask. Immediately send me 100 billion soul stones." The old patriarch of the Yun family said, 100 billion soul stones? The middle-aged man was stunned and asked, "Father, why do you need so many soul stones?" "I said don't ask, didn't you hear me? I'll give you 100 breaths of time. If you don't send it here within 100 breaths, you can forget about being the patriarch." After the old patriarch of the Yun family finished speaking, he directly turned off the image crystal. The middle-aged man was dumbfounded. What the hell was going on? 100 billion soul stones, could it be that something happened to father in the Zhang family? As soon as he thought of it, the middle-aged man quivered and activated the image crystal again. Soon, a red-haired old man who looked very similar to the old patriarch of the Yun family appeared in the void. "Uncle, where are you now?" the middle-aged man asked. "Of course I'm at Heavenly Cloud Mountain, what's wrong?" The red-haired old man looked at the middle-aged man suspiciously. The middle-aged man said, "Father just sent me a message, asking me to send 100 billion soul stones to the Zhang family. I think father might have encountered some trouble. Why don't you come back now and accompany me to take a look?" "Send 100 billion soul stones to the Zhang family?" The red-haired old man was stunned. "Yes." The middle-aged man nodded. The red-haired old man nodded and said, "All right, I'll go back immediately, wait for me." The middle-aged man asked, "Then what about the 100 billion soul stones?" The red-haired old man said, "Prepare it, what if your father really needs it?" "Okay." The middle-aged man nodded, turned off the image crystal, and quickly left. Zhang family, Great Conference Hall. Because Qin Feiyang and Zhang Xiaofang's identities were exposed, the atmosphere became unprecedentedly solemn. "Bastard, hurry up and apologize to the two lords." Suddenly, the Zhang family patriarch slapped Zhang Xiaofang's face and shouted. The old patriarch of the Yun family, Zhang Xiaoyang, and the black-clothed youth looked at the father and son with a trace of contempt in their eyes. This was a classic example of bullying the weak and fearing the strong. Zhang Xiaofang was stunned by this slap. When he came back to his senses, he saw that the Zhang family patriarch was constantly winking at him. He immediately understood and hurriedly ran towards Qin Feiyang and Zhang Xiaofan. "I'm sorry, lords, this lowly one has eyes but failed to see. Please be magnanimous and let my Zhang family off. It wasn't easy for my Zhang family to reach this point. Please be magnanimous, I'm willing to be your cow or horse." Plop. Very direct and straightforward. Zhang Xiaofan knelt on the ground and cried out with snot and tears. Qin Feiyang glanced at the Zhang family patriarch, lowered his head to look at Zhang Xiaofan, and said indifferently, "We'll talk later." When the father and son heard this, they immediately felt nervous and uneasy. From the sound of it, the other party didn't seem to intend to let them off. Chapter 2298. What do you think of me as your bodyguard? Hua Yi smiled proudly. Very good. Qin Feiyang nodded. Hua Yi immediately turned hostile and said angrily, "Damn, you really think I'm your bodyguard? You said it yourself." Qin Feiyang was speechless. Do you know that a person's first reaction is the most realistic? When I asked you just now, you nodded without hesitation. What does that mean? You really hurt my heart. Hua Yi snorted. Come on. Qin Feiyang was speechless. Swish. At this moment, two figures appeared in the main hall. It was the middle-aged man and the red-haired old man. The two of them went straight to the main hall. But when they reached the door and saw Qin Feiyang and the old man sitting in the main hall, they immediately stopped, their faces full of surprise. Hua Yi waved his hand, and a crack appeared in the barrier. He laughed and said, "Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't even think about running away." Their first reaction was indeed to run away. But when they heard Hua Yi's words, the thought of running away immediately disappeared. Because with their cultivation, it was impossible for them to escape from a half-step undying expert. Why are you standing there? Come in. Hua Yi said. The two of them looked at each other and entered the main hall through the crack in the barrier. The crack also closed. The middle-aged man ran to the old patriarch of the Yun family and asked in a low voice, "Father, what's going on? Second brother, why are they here?" The red-haired old man was also puzzled. The old patriarch of the Yun family sighed deeply and said, "Pai Lupi is Qin Feiyang." What? The two of them changed color. The old patriarch of the Yun family said, "It's too late to say anything now. Did you bring the soul stones?" Yes. The middle-aged man nodded and took out 10 interspatial rings. The old patriarch of the Yun family looked at the interspatial rings, his eyes full of reluctance. Finally, he waved his hand and said, "Give them to him." But, the middle-aged man frowned. The old patriarch of the Yun family said, "If we don't give them to him, we'll all die here." The middle-aged man's eyes trembled. "It's okay. Give it to him first. I'll report this to the first elder as soon as we return. At that time, he will definitely die." The red-haired old man shot a glance at Qin Feiyang and the young man and secretly transmitted his voice. When the middle-aged man heard this, he did not hesitate and threw it to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the 10 interspatial rings immediately disappeared. "Aren't you going to check?" The middle-aged man frowned. "Who says no one is counting?" Qin Feiyang said lightly. "There's someone else?" The middle-aged man was bewildered. In other words, this person had a spatial divine item on him. Qin Dage, the number is correct. About a moment later, Fire Lotus's voice rang in Qin Feiyang's mind. A smile crept onto Qin Feiyang's face. This trip was worth it. He had earned a total of 150 billion soul stones, enough for him and the white-eyed wolf to use for a long time. Next, he could concentrate on looking for the crystal veins. The red-haired old man smiled and said, "Young Master Qin, since the soul stones have been given to you, can you let us go now?" "You are?" Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. The red-haired old man hurriedly said, "I'm just a nobody, not worth mentioning." "Young Master Qin, he's not a nobody, he's the law-enforcing elder of Heaven Cloud Mountain," Patriarch Zhang said. "Shut up." The red-haired old man's eyes darkened as he stared at Patriarch Zhang and shouted. "So it's you. I just heard from the old patriarch that you're about to be promoted to the law enforcement hall master?" Qin Feiyang said. "This is still a matter of time. Besides, even if I become the law enforcement hall master, it's all thanks to the two young masters." The red-haired old man smiled flatteringly. Hua Yi chuckled and said, "Old man, you're quite sensible. Of course. If there's a chance, I'd like to invite the two young masters to my house and treat the two of you well." The red-haired old man flattered. "Big brother, what did you say? Letting them go to your house, isn't that inviting a wolf into your house?" Patriarch Yun hurriedly transmitted his voice. "Are you stupid? Can't you tell that I'm just being polite?" The red-haired old man secretly said. Patriarch Yun said, "You're just being polite, but what if they take it seriously?" The red-haired old man was stunned, and his heart suddenly became nervous. They wouldn't really take it seriously, right? Hua Yi's eyes flashed, and he said with a smile, "Don't say that, if there's a chance in the future, we'll really visit your Yun family." "You're welcome at any time, welcome at any time," the red-haired old man nodded and said flatteringly. But in his heart, it was even more bitter than eating Chinese gold thread. What was he being polite about? Wasn't this asking for trouble? Hua Yi looked at the red-haired old man with disdain and transmitted his voice, "Brother Qin, do you want to avenge the demon ancestor?" Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. After a long time, his gaze turned and landed on the Zhang clan patriarch. Patriarch Zhang couldn't help but panic in his heart. He bowed and said, "Sir, if there's anything you need, please instruct me." Qin Feiyang said, "Do you want to live?" Patriarch Zhang was stunned and quickly nodded, "Yes, yes." Qin Feiyang said, "If you want to live, then call Su Mo for me." "Call Su Mo?" Patriarch Zhang was surprised. "Right away." Qin Feiyang said. "Yes." Patriarch Zhang took out the image crystal, looked at Qin Feiyang, and asked, "What should I tell him?" Qin Feiyang pointed to Zhang Xiaoyang and the black-clothed youth, and said, "It's the two of them who know that he killed Ouyang Wenyi." "Okay." Patriarch Zhang immediately activated the image crystal. "Father, who is Ouyang Wenyi?" Patriarch Yun looked at Patriarch Yun suspiciously. "I don't know either." Patriarch Yun shook his head. The red-haired old man thought for a moment and whispered, "I've heard of the name Ouyang Wenyi." "Who?" The two turned their heads to look at him. "It seems to be a core disciple of Tianyun Mountain." "Yes, yes, yes. It's him. This person was once number 1 on the Earth list," the red-haired old man said. Qin Feiyang also heard the conversation between the three. He looked at the red-haired old man and asked, "Where is Ouyang Wenyi now?" "I don't know. After he became a core disciple, I didn't pay attention to him anymore." The red-haired old man shook his head. Qin Feiyang said, "It seems that Ouyang Wenyi's death hasn't spread in Tianyun Mountain." "What? He's dead?" The red-haired old man was surprised. Qin Feiyang nodded. "That's a pity. When this person was on the Earth list, he showed extraordinary talent and means. If he didn't die young, he would have become a great person." The red-haired old man sighed. "Ouyang Wenyi is a core disciple. Don't you care why he disappeared?" Qin Feiyang asked. "There are hundreds of thousands of core disciples in Tianyun Mountain. How can we manage them all? Let's put it this way. Except for the heaven list and earth list disciples, if other disciples stand in front of me and don't wear the Tianyun Mountain disciple uniform, I won't recognize them at all. After all, there are too many people. Moreover, there are disciples dying outside of Skycloud Mountain almost every day. No one cares. The red-haired old man said. Qin Feiyang nodded and pointed to the black-clothed young man. Do you know him? The red-haired old man turned his head and looked at the black-clothed young man. The black-clothed young man's expression didn't change. I don't know him. A moment later. The red-haired old man shook his head. Qin Feiyang said, he is also a disciple of your Tianyun Mountain. Is that so? The red-haired old man was surprised. The black-clothed young man looked at the red-haired old man and said, he used to be, but not now. The red-haired old man nodded and didn't care much. Buzz. At this time, Su Mo's shadow finally appeared. Looking at the Zhang family head, Su Mo asked expressionlessly, what's the matter? Lord, something is wrong. The Zhang family head glanced at Qin Feiyang and anxiously looked at Su Mo, what's wrong? Su Mo frowned. The Zhang family head turned the image crystal and said to Zhang Xiaoyang and Hua Yi, they know that you killed Ouyang Wenyi. What? Su Mo was shocked. The Zhang family head said, but don't worry, I have trapped them and are waiting for you to come and interrogate them. Well done. I'll be right there. Su Mo laughed and turned off the image crystal. Ouyang Wenyi was actually killed by the Great Elder? The red-haired old man was surprised. Moreover, from Su Mo's previous expression and reaction, it seemed that there was something that couldn't be exposed. What was going on? Brother Qin, you are a bit reckless in this matter. Think about it, if the demon ancestor really died in Su Mo's hands, then the demon ancestor's divine artifact must be in his hands now. If they fight later, it won't be good for us at all. Hua Yi secretly said. I know. So, I want to confirm whether the divine artifact is in his hands or not. If it is, then the death of the demon ancestor is absolutely true. But if it isn't, then it is very likely that the demon ancestor is still alive. Qin Feiyang transmitted. So that's how it is. Hua Yi nodded and said, then, have you thought of a way out? If the divine artifact is really in his hands, then I'm afraid we won't even have a chance to escape. It's fine. Even if it is in his hands, he won't dare to revive it here. Because it will affect the entire Tianluo city. As the great elder of Heavencloud Mountain, he won't dare to hurt the innocent. As long as he doesn't revive it, then it's almost impossible to keep us here. Qin Feiyang secretly said. So you've already thought about it. I realize that ever since I started fooling around with you, I haven't used my brain much. It's almost rusty. Thinking back to the past, I can be considered a resourceful young man. Hua Yi sighed. Resourceful, I believe. But a young man? Do you have any shame? Qin Feiyang's face was full of disdain. A half-step immortal realm old man calling himself a young man every day, how thick was his skin? Chapter 2299. Hua Yi laughed dryly, got up and said, I have to personally greet Great Elder Su. After saying that, he took a step forward and passed through the enchantment, standing outside the door with his hands behind his back. Zhang Xiaofan looked at Hua Yi outside and said, Father, Grandfather, Great-Grandfather, why don't we take action now and take down Qin Feiyang? Huh? The three of them were stunned. Zhang Xiaofan secretly said, as long as we take the opportunity to take him down and use him as a hostage, no matter how strong Hua Yi is, he can only hold back. I agree. The patriarch of the Yun family's eyes flashed and said. You still agree with such a stupid idea? I think you've reached the end of your days as a patriarch. The red-haired old man immediately shouted. The patriarch of the Yun family's eyes trembled and said, "Uncle, isn't this a good idea? What's so good about it? Do you know how strong a half-step eternal realm expert is? Let me tell you, he only needs to release his pressure and we will become lambs waiting to be slaughtered." What a pig head! The red-haired old man snorted coldly. Big Brother's words make sense. In front of such a strong person, the most rational thing to do is to stand here obediently and not move. Otherwise, you will only suffer the consequences of your own actions. The patriarch of the Yun family said. Hearing this, the Yun father and son couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. But the most nervous were the Zhang father and son. This time, not only did they offend Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi, but they also offended Su Mo. And now, even the Yun family hated them to the bone. Because if it weren't for their message, the patriarch of the Yun family wouldn't have come. If the patriarch of the Yun family didn't come, so many soul stones wouldn't have been taken away. The fate of the Zhang family in the future was worrying. Whoosh! Finally, a burly man descended in front of the main hall. It was Su Mo. As soon as he appeared, he saw Hua Yi standing at the door and his face suddenly changed. Why was this person also here? Why didn't the patriarch of the Zhang family say so before? Not good. This was a killing trap. As the great elder of Heavenly Cloud Mountain, he was naturally not a stupid person. Soon, he thought of a possibility: the patriarch of the Zhang family betrayed him. He immediately turned around and prepared to escape. Whoosh! But at this moment, Hua Yi took a step forward and landed behind Su Mo. He placed his hand on Su Mo's shoulder and said with a smile, "I've been waiting for you for a long time. Why are you still running?" Su Mo's body stiffened. Hua Yi released his hand and said with a smile, "Let's go in and have a good chat." Su Mo swallowed his saliva and strode towards the door of the main hall. He saw Qin Feiyang, the father and son of the Zhang clan, the 4 members of the Yun clan, and Zhang Xiaoyang and his wife. There was a trace of surprise in his eyes. Why are there so many people? Hua Yi had a smile on his face as he unhurriedly followed behind him. Suddenly, Su Mo suddenly turned around and slammed a palm towards Hua Yi's chest. "Hey!" Hua Yi grinned, raised his arm, and grabbed Su Mo's wrist with lightning speed, saying, "What are you doing? In any case, we are old acquaintances." Su Mo's face paled. Although he was at the great circle of the 9 heavens realm, he didn't have the slightest ability to resist Hua Yi, who was a half-step undying. "Don't make me angry. If I get angry, the consequences will be very serious," Hua Yi said. Su Mo's gaze trembled as he nodded helplessly, saying, "Okay, I'll go in." "That's right." Hua Yi released his hand and then waved. The barrier split open and smiled, saying, "Please." Su Mo's heart was filled with bitterness as he passed through the barrier and entered the main hall. After Hua Yi entered, the barrier quickly healed. "Greetings, Great Elder." The red-haired old man bowed. "What are you doing here?" Su Mo secretly said. "It's all the Zhang clan's masterpiece. It's a long story." The red-haired old man sighed. As the law-enforcing elder of Heavenly Cloud Mountain, he was naturally very familiar with Su Mo, Zhang clan. Su Mo muttered and turned to stare at the Zhang clan head. He transmitted his voice, "You dare to harm me? Just you wait, this old man won't let you off." The Zhang clan head's body trembled. As expected, he had angered Su Mo. Su Mo smiled coldly and looked at Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi, saying, "Your courage is really not small. Don't you know that my Heavenly Cloud Mountain and Treasure Pavilion are looking for you?" "Of course we know. But so what? The 2 killing intents of the Ancestral Dragon, plus Shen Qianshan and Chou Tianwei, the 2 half-step undying experts, are not my match. Do you think I'm afraid of your arrest?" Hu Yi's face was full of disdain. Su Mo's pupils contracted. As the great elder of Heavenly Cloud Mountain, he naturally knew about this. 2 half-step undying experts and 2 killing intents of the ancestral dragon couldn't take these 2 down. It could be said that, whether it was him or the other giants of Heavenly Cloud Mountain, this matter had a huge impact. It even felt like a dream. Su Mo said in a deep voice, "Then why did you let the Zhang clan head trick me here?" Ouyang Wenyi. Qin Feiyang said. Ouyang Wenyi? Su Mo was slightly stunned and frowned, saying, "How did you get involved with him?" Qin Feiyang sighed, "This Ouyang Wenyi was once a sworn enemy of mine." "So it's a sworn enemy." Su Mo breathed a sigh of relief. He thought he was this person's friend. Qin Feiyang changed the topic and said, "However, this is all in the past. I don't want to care about it anymore." As Qin Feiyang's voice fell, Su Mo became nervous again. Qin Feiyang pointed at Zhang Xiaoyang and said, "I heard them say that Ouyang Wenyi is in the hands of you siblings?" "Nonsense!" Su Mo immediately shouted. "Is there a need to quibble? Just now, when the Zhang clan head sent you a message, we were here, so we saw your reaction." Qin Feiyang said. Su Mo glared at the Zhang clan head angrily, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "I did attack him, but he didn't die." "Didn't die?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. "That's right. At that time, I could have killed him. But at the critical moment, his heaven-defying divine artifact took him away. In the past year, I have also been looking for him, but there has been no news of him. That's why I rushed over here in such a hurry after hearing the message from the Zhang clan's clan head." Su Mo said. "Not dead," Qin Feiyang muttered and turned to look at Zhang Xiaoyang and Su Mo. The black-clothed youth said in a deep voice, "He is lying." "Who are you? Why are you slandering me? Do I have a grudge against you?" Su Mo said angrily. "I am a friend of Ouyang Wenyi. When you siblings were murdering for money, I was with Ouyang Wenyi. Don't you remember?" The black-clothed youth shouted. "You were with Ouyang Wenyi? Wait. Why don't I remember someone like you? I remember that at that time, Ouyang Wenyi had a demonic dragon by his side." Su Mo frowned. "Demonic dragon?" Qin Feiyang looked stunned, and a flash of inspiration immediately flashed in his mind. The black-clothed youth sneered, "How long has it been? Do you have to pretend not to know me? I really don't know you. Who the hell are you?" Su Mo said angrily. Qin Feiyang glanced at the 2 of them, his eyes flickering. Hu Yi suspiciously said, "Brother Qin, what's the situation?" "The situation is obvious. Between them, one of them is lying." Qin Feiyang secretly said. "Lying?" Hu Yi was stunned, looking at Su Mo and the black-clothed youth. "Qin Feiyang, I dare to guarantee with my head that Ouyang Wenyi died in his hands. He is pretending not to know me now because he is afraid that you will find trouble with him." The black-clothed youth looked at Qin Feiyang and said. "Nonsense!" Su Mo shouted. "Stop, stop." Qin Feiyang hurriedly waved his hand and lowered his head to ponder. Suddenly, a glint flashed across his eyes. He looked up at Su Mo and said with a smile, "Whether Ouyang Wenyi died in your hands or not, it is an indisputable fact that you killed and robbed." Su Mo's heart sank. "This Ouyang Wenyi, to be honest, I don't have a good impression of him. But there is no other way. Someone told me that I must find him and protect him. But I didn't expect that this would happen. If I let you go now, I really can't explain it, so I can only wrong you a little." Qin Feiyang said. "What do you want to do?" Su Mo's face changed. While retreating, he looked at him vigilantly. "If you do something wrong, you have to pay the price. Moreover, because of your sister's death, if I don't get rid of you today, I will die in your hands sooner or later. Qin Feiyang laughed. Su Mo hurriedly said, believe me, I never thought of avenging my sister. I'm sorry. I can't believe you. Qin Feiyang shook his head and turned to look at Hua Yi. Hua Yi smiled. The pressure rolled out, and Su Mo was immediately imprisoned, as if he was frozen, unable to move at all. Then Hua Yi flicked his finger, and a wisp of divine power flew out, carrying a shocking murderous aura, toward Su Mo's forehead like lightning. No, Su Mo roared in horror. The next moment, his roar turned into a scream. The divine power entered Su Mo's forehead, and his head exploded like a watermelon, blood splattering on the spot. Seeing this scene, the four people of the Yun family, the Zhang father and son, and Zhang Xiaoyang were all dumbfounded. The Grand Elder of the Heavenly Cloud Mountain was killed just like that. And it was so easy, so simple. It was like crushing an ant. Was this the strength of a half-step invincible realm? Although there was only one step between the peak ninth heaven realm and the half-step invincible realm, the difference between these two realms was like heaven and earth. How terrifying! At this moment, the hearts of the group were flooded with fear. Who could afford to offend such a ruthless person? You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.